You practice immortality. I cultivate the land. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 676, King Yulin's Stillbirth. Congratulations, fellow Daoist Lu, for getting the desired high-level spiritual seed. After the two exchanged, Lu Xuan was immersed in joy when Yulin Ren's gentle voice reached his ears. He turned his head and nodded to Yulin Ren. It's just that the price I paid was a little high, but as a spiritual plant master, I will not miss the opportunity to obtain such a rare spiritual seed. Lu Xuan sent a voice message to Yulin Ren. I didn't expect fellow Daoist Lu to be so secretive that he actually took out a low-priced magical power to exchange for a spiritual seed. I admire you. The skinny old man also sent a voice message to Lu Xuan. I'm sorry that fellow Daoist Xuan missed this spiritual seed. I was so eager for this beautiful corpse skin spiritual seed that I even took out my family heirloom. Lu Xuan showed a bit of distress on his face. It's okay. Fellow Daoist Lu has nothing to apologize for with his own ability. However, I have seen your determination in spiritual plants. It is indeed as the rumors say, you love spiritual plants, as if they were your life. The skinny old man replied indifferently. The other Jinden Zenran present shook their heads secretly, feeling sorry for Lu Xuan's move. It was unwise to use low-level magical powers to exchange for a spiritual seed whose cultivation method was not yet known. At the same time, it also equated Lu Xuan with a prodigal son. The beating continued, and cultivators continued to take out various treasures and make requests, but it was still a bit difficult to exchange for something that both parties were satisfied with. Seeing that the time was almost right, Lu Xuan walked into the middle of the wooden house. Everyone's eyes were immediately attracted by him, and they were curious about what treasures Lu Xuan, who had just replaced his low-level magical powers, would take out. 5 balls of dark yellow soil suddenly appeared, and they seemed to have a special induction with each other. They slowly crawled towards each other, and soon formed a small earthy yellow puppet. This treasure is called Kunta Spirit Puppet. It is made of a large amount of Kuntu. It has rich and pure earth-type spiritual power and strong protective ability. When the holder is attacked, it will automatically transform into a huge puppet to protect him. Lu Xuan introduced in a deep voice. If any Taoist friend is interested, you can exchange it with a piece of Yuan-Si Spirit Stone. A smaller size is also acceptable. Or you can use a 5th grade or higher spiritual seed, spiritual beast, and corresponding spiritual plant treasures. After he got the 6th grade Yuan-Si Spiritwood Spirit Seed, it has been vacant for too long. Now even if it loses a little, it is acceptable to exchange it for a piece of Yuan-Si Spirit Stone. Although this Kunta Spirit Puppet has good protective power, with his current physical strength, he has no problem blocking what the puppet can block. In addition, there is a multi-armed corpse slave, whose functions are slightly overlapping, so the puppet seems a little useless, and he decided to use it to exchange for something that can be used. A 5th grade protective puppet that can change its form according to the holder's thoughts is quite good. Unfortunately, the Yuan-Si Spirit Stone is extremely rare. Once it appears, it is in the form of a spiritual mountain ores. It is difficult to divide it, and the possibility of getting a small piece is too low. After seeing the Kunta Spirit Puppet, some people were interested, but none of them could meet Lu Xuan's requirements. As for the spirit seeds, because they cannot be stored for a long time, the general Jinden cultivators either sell them as soon as possible, or cultivate them by themselves after obtaining them. It is difficult to come across high-level spirit seeds for a while. A few people did not give up, and tried to use magic tools and talismans to exchange Kunta Spirit Puppet with Lu Xuan. After Lu Xuan looked at them, he was not satisfied, and had to politely refuse. After waiting for a while, when Lu Xuan, who was a little disappointed, was about to retreat, a familiar voice sounded in his ears. Dao Lu, I have a spirit beast embryo in my hand. I have had it for many years, but I have tried every means to give birth to it. Most likely it has become a dead fetus. It's just that the embryo's origin is very unusual, so I have never given up. I wonder if it can be used to exchange for the spirit puppet in Dao Yao's hand. Lu Xuan looked in the direction of the voice and saw Wang Suhui, who was skilled in taming beasts, nodded gently at him. Dao Yao Wang, what is the origin of the spirit beast embryo? Can you tell me? The embryo is a 6th grade demon beast King Guilin. It is said that it has some blood of the ancient beast Killin, but it has become extremely weak. Now I can't feel any movement in the embryo. I suspect that the life inside is dead, but it can still be used to refine pills and raise spirit beasts. It is still valuable. If Dao Yaolu is interested, you can come to me after the treasure exchange meeting is over. Wang Suhui said in a voice transmission. Lu Xuan nodded imperceptibly. A dead fetus of a 6th grade spirit beast. If it is really dead, it can barely be exchanged for this counter spirit puppet. If it is not dead, then it will be rich. The value of spirit beasts is generally higher than that of spirit plants of the same level. Based on Lu Xuan's previous experience in raising spirit beasts, the light balls he harvested are also more abundant. And he has that special ability. As long as it is not a dead fetus, he will know its detailed information and have a certain possibility of restoring it to normal so as to raise it and harvest the light balls. Half an hour later, the treasure exchange meeting ended, and Lu Xuan came to Wang Suhuo's residence as promised. Fellow Daoist Wang. Fellow Daoist Lu, you are here. This is the embryo of the King Island spirit beast. Please take a look. Wang Suhuo said, taking out a wash-basin-sized blue embryo from the storage bag. The embryo is like a round J-ball, firmly protecting the pale blue baby inside. The baby seems to be in a deep sleep, without any vitality. Looking closely, the baby has a strange shape, which is somewhat similar to the legendary Killin. It has a majestic and mysterious look before it is born. I can't feel any vitality. Lu Xuan checked it with his spiritual sense and said in a deep voice, how long has the embryo been in this state? It should be no less than 20 years. I only got it for a few years, but according to the previous owner of the embryo, it has been like this for a long time, and there is no sign of recovery. It is a 6th grade spirit beast, and a special blood species. I don't know why it was not born in time. It's a pity. Lu Xuan nodded, with a bit of regret in his tone. Indeed. As a beast-taming cultivator, Wang Suhui naturally felt this more deeply. Looking at the lifeless King Guilin cub in the embryo, his eyes were full of regret. However, it is a 6th grade spirit beast embryo after all. It can be used to refine some high-level elixirs or raise special spirit beasts. Its value is still higher than that of ordinary 5th grade treasures. Fellow Daoist Wang, I still need to check it carefully before making a decision. Lu Xuan suddenly said. Fellow Daoist Lu, please do as you please. Seeing that Lu Xuan was not giving up, Wang Suhui was not impatient at all. As a beastmaster, he had not seen any problems with the embryo for so many years, so naturally he would not believe that Lu Xuan, a spiritual plant master, could find anything. Lu Xuan came to the blue embryo and injected a trace of subtle spiritual power into it. He focused his mind on it, but there was no movement. He thought about it, feeling the characteristics of the J-ball. The light green light in his danshan accelerated its rotation, and a strand of greenwood source energy as thin as a hair penetrated into the embryo. HMM. He looked calm and exclaimed in his heart. After injecting the greenwood source energy, when his mind was focused, or thought flashed through his mind. Chapter 677, Tree Lady Invitation. King Guilin, a 6th grade demon beast, contains the rare blood of the ancient beast Killin, and is extremely powerful. As it grows, it will gradually master the innate magical powers of the Killin clan. Due to an accident during the mother beast's pregnancy, the essence of life was condensed to seal the embryo of the young beast, isolating it from the outside world, and falling into a deep sleep. A large amount of powerful treasures must be injected into the embryo to awaken the vitality and consciousness of the young beast. It's not a dead fetus, but it's just to maintain its vitality and fall into a state similar to turtle breathing. A large amount of vitality treasures are needed to wake it up. Lu Xuan was delighted, but his expression remained calm. I didn't expect that I didn't pick up any spiritual plants this time, but I accidentally discovered this 6th grade demon beast embryo. he once again witnessed the power of the special ability to master the detailed status of spiritual plants and spiritual beasts. There is definitely a big difference between a live and dead 6th grade alien monster. If you want to use a 5th grade counter spirit puppet to exchange for a live 6th grade baby, no one will pay attention to you if you tell them. As long as it is awakened and nurtured to maturity, it will be a great help. Compared with the cost, it will learn a lot. Not to mention that you can also get a rich light ball reward at that time, which will make a lot of money. As for a large number of vitality treasures, I have King Mu Yuan Key in my body, and currently I also store a large number of nailing grass beads. The light ball reward is an unexpected gain. If you count the cost, it is almost the same as getting it for free. Thinking of this, Lu Xuan had no other choice. Fellow Daoist Wang, the embryo is still normal. It is no problem to use it to raise spirit beasts. I will exchange it with you now. Thank you, fellow Daoist Lu. Wang Suhui showed joy on his face. This embryo has not hatched for many years. He has long given up. It is a pity to use it to raise spirit beasts. He is satisfied to be able to exchange it for that special 5th grade puppet from Lu Xuan. After the meeting, several giant and cultivators left one after another, but most of them stayed in the cave to exchange experiences in cultivation, refining tools, and alchemy. During the meeting, several cultivators even exchanged swordsmanship and magic. Lu Xuan stayed quietly in the corner and politely declined if someone invited him. Only when discussing spiritual plants and beasts, as well as alchemy experience, would he speak out and express his own opinions, which further confirmed the rumors that he was a full-time spiritual plant cultivator and also practiced alchemy. After the exchange, he was accompanied by Yulin Sanren and visited some safe areas of King Muxing Cave and saw various strange sights. On this day, he said goodbye to Yulin Sanren and planned to return to the cave. Thank you for your hospitality these days. I have broadened my horizons and got the spiritual seeds I like at the meeting. If you come to Thunderstar Cave next time, please remember to come to my cave and taste the spiritual fruits and teas I personally cultivated and brewed. On the towering tree, Lu Xuan stood on a green leaf several feet wide and smiled at Yulin Sanren. Dao Iao is too polite. I was attacked by monsters in the Thunder Sea before and had to use your cave to recuperate and take refuge. I haven't thanked you enough. I learned a lot of spiritual plant experience from you during this gathering and benefited a lot. I don't have anything to give you before leaving. Here are some unique spiritual soils from King Mu Star Cave. They are of the 4th grade and are called Yuan King soil. They contain unique vitality and are suitable for cultivating most spiritual plants. I hope you don't dislike them. Yulin Sanren handed Lu Xuan an open jade box, which was filled with a pile of light green spiritual soils. The spiritual light was swimming, giving people a sense of freshness and nature. How can I do this? Lu Xuan pretended to refuse. Dao Iao Lu, this is your fault. You not only took risks to provide us with a safe environment, but also took out a lot of rare elixirs to help us recover as soon as possible. This is nothing. Yulin Sanren pushed the jade box towards Lu Xuan, pretending to be angry. Then I will not be polite. Thank you for such a great gift. Lu Xuan saw that he could not refuse, so he gladly accepted it. As soon as he left Yulin Sanren's cave, he released the void nightmare eyes. After confirming that there was nothing abnormal around him, a hazy green light emerged from his body and he went directly into the boundless jungle. When he was in Xianjian sect, in order to have a good escape skill, he deliberately chose the Great 5-Element Kung Fu as the main practice method, which contains the 5-element escape technique. Although he did not have many opportunities to use wood escape, he had practiced hard for many years, and had previously had the pure glazed tea leaves to improve his understanding, so he could be considered to have made some achievements. When he came to King Mu Star Cave, he was with Xuan Yuan Zhe, but he was not so relieved when he returned. After all, he was not close to him, and if the monks present knew that he had exchanged the 6th grade spiritual seed for the beautiful corpse skin, they might have evil intentions and fight for it halfway. For the sake of caution, he deliberately stayed in Yulin Sanren Cave for a few days. After leaving, he immediately escaped into the boundless forest. This trip to King Mu's Star Cave has yielded a lot of harvests. The 6th grade evil spiritual seed Yanshi, and the 6th grade King Gailin embryo, that fell into a deep sleep. Inside the giant tree, he shuttled flexibly like a fish, counting the harvest in his mind. At this moment, he found that there were several spiritual lights swimming around him, following him closely. Even if Lu Xuan increased his speed, he was still not far away from him. It turned out to be those little tree girls. Lu Xuan's heart suddenly became alert, and the spiritual energy covered the surface of his eyes. Under the breaking delusion pupil technique, he immediately saw the origin of the spiritual light. Although he didn't know why they were following him, Lu Xuan, as a spiritual plant master, had a natural liking for these plant spirits. He stopped and quietly looked in the direction of several tree lady spirits. Amidst the chuckles, several small tree ladies about 2 or 3 feet tall jumped out, staring at Lu Xuan with their delicate and charming faces. Lu Xuan's mouth corners raised, and wisps of fine greenwood source energy flowed out from the tips of his 10 fingers. The moment he saw the greenwood source energy, the tree lady's eyes lit up, her body shrank, and she flew in front of Lu Xuan's fingers without any hesitation, sucking the greenwood source energy. After sucking it, several tree ladies clung to Lu Xuan's body, making crisp and pleasant chirping sounds from time to time, and it was unknown what they were saying. Lu Xuan focused his mind on them and immediately understood. "Do you want to invite me to your nest as a guest?" he asked softly to the slightly larger tree lady who was in the lead. When the green elf heard Lu Xuan's words, he nodded hurriedly. Lu Xuan hesitated for a moment, before nodding his head in agreement. He was quite confident about these tree maidens. After all, they were just little elves, kind-hearted, and not very powerful. More importantly, after feeding them the King Mu Yuan key, he could feel their genuine closeness to him, so he was not worried that they would harm him. "Lead the way," he said to the leading tree maiden with a smile. Chapter 678, Xuanji Tree Mother. Hearing Lu Xuan's words, several tree maidens danced with joy. Then, rich plant spirits surged from their bodies, wrapping Lu Xuan inside, and flashing into the depths of the giant tree. The giant tree seemed to be no obstacle to them, and they moved as fast as possible, even much faster than when Lu Xuan performed the wood escape technique. I underestimated the speed of these tree maidens' wood escape. I had previously wanted to shake them off. Lu Xuan remembered that when he first discovered their existence, he tried to speed up to shake them off in order to avoid trouble, but he didn't expect that the speed of the tree maidens was far beyond his expectations. I guess this is their own talent, and it also has something to do with the fact that the giant trees will not hinder them. He found a reason for himself, and simply saved a little spiritual power, letting the tree maidens carry him forward at a very fast speed. After a moment, he felt as if his body passed through a thin green membrane as thin as a cicada's wing, and entered a green world. Looking up, there was a green curtain at the end of the sky. Below, countless thick roots and vines were intertwined, forming various strange terrains. Countless plant spirits were playing and frolicking in it. Some of them even came closer to Lu Xuan after seeing him, and looked at him curiously. The leading tree lady was mumbling something, and the plant spirits of various shapes immediately retreated, and secretly observed Lu Xuan from a distance. "I didn't expect you to have a high status among these plant spirits." Lu Xuan chuckled and teased. When the tree lady heard this, 2 faint blushes flew on her snow-white face, which added a bit of charm against her snow-like skin and green lines. Lu Xuan laughed and followed them to a low tree root. Not long after, a tree lady handed Lu Xuan a portion of green spirit liquid. The spiritual liquid was held in a hollow branch, and when it was shaken slightly, it stirred up layers of green ripples, which was very beautiful. "Are you treating me to a drink?" Although Lu Xuan had already guessed it, he still asked out of courtesy. The tree lady nodded gently, not daring to look up at Lu Xuan. "Thank you very much." Lu Xuan smiled and drank a mouthful of the emerald green spiritual liquid. As soon as the emerald green spiritual liquid entered his stomach, a fresh spiritual energy flowed through his limbs and bones, penetrating his whole body. The fresh energy lasted for a long time, making Lu Xuan's whole body relaxed a lot, and his mind was clear. It's a good spiritual liquid. The effect is similar to the Jade Wash spiritual dew, but in some aspects it is even better than the Jade Wash spiritual dew. Lu Xuan secretly evaluated in his heart while observing the strange space he was currently in, enjoying the delicious and magical emerald green spiritual liquid. Did you brew this spiritual liquid? After drinking the emerald green spiritual liquid, Lu Xuan asked curiously. It was fine if it was produced by heaven and earth, and he would drink it once. If there was a brewing formula, he would find ways to get the formula. Of course, he would give a price that would satisfy the tree ladies and would not take someone else's rare formula for free. However, what disappointed him was that from the tree ladies' answers, he could hear that these emerald green spiritual liquids were all naturally produced by this green world, but the output was very small, and they went to collect them every once in a while. Why do you emphasize the small output? I won't take the spiritual liquid. Lu Xuan muttered in his heart. Although the emerald green spiritual liquid was precious, he already had several flavors and effects that were similar, so he didn't have a strong desire to take it for himself. Thank you for inviting me to be your guest and letting me drink such delicious spiritual liquid. If there is nothing else, I will leave. Here are some spiritual fruits and several spiritual liquids I brewed. They should be of great benefit to you. I'll give them to you to try. Lu Xuan stayed for a while, took out some spiritual fruits and spiritual liquids, and planned to leave. The tree lady waved her hands and said something in a hurried tone. Just as Lu Xuan was about to concentrate his mind and sense the information it expressed, suddenly, a very weak light green breath gushed out of the tree lady's body. Just as Lu Xuan was about to check the state of the tree lady, the same light green breath gushed out of the surrounding grass and tree spirits almost at the same time. The breath itself is imperceptible, but when countless breaths gather together, it can form a large scale. Lu Xuan looked calm, quietly observing the formation of this strange phenomenon. The 5th grade Tai Thunder Talisman in his sleeve was ready to go, and another 5th grade Thunder Extreme Escape Talisman was also ready. Once there was anything wrong, the talisman would be activated and escape far away. In the gluttonous insect capsule, the 6th grade Zenyu Vajra statue was also on the verge of activation. In front of him, countless light green breaths condensed into a green figure shaped like a human body. The figure was dozens of feet tall, and countless vines of different sizes and colors slid down from the top. Countless arm-like branches spread out from the upper body, overlapping and extending to the end of the green giant curtain. Don't be nervous, my friend. I have no ill will towards you. An extremely gentle voice came into Lu Xuan's ears, like an embryo in the mother's womb, which made Lu Xuan's inner vigilance disappear. Hello, senior. Although Lu Xuan did not feel any spiritual fluctuations from the huge phantom in front of him, he knew that the phantom's strength was unfathomable, so he bowed respectfully. No need to be so polite. You entered this world because I instructed those little things to invite you here. The huge green phantom said softly. I see. What is your name, senior? Lu Xuan asked with his head down. You can just call me the mother of the mysterious tree. As for my origins, I'm sure you're a little curious. I'm a special creature formed by the origins of countless spiritual plants and a strange tree in the King Mu Star Cave. I'm rooted in the Star Cave and can be divided into thousands and merged into the grass and tree spirits in the King Mu Star Cave. I can also merge into one, forming the existence in front of you. The shadow said it lightly, but Lu Xuan knew it was not as simple as it seemed, and he still maintained a respectful attitude. I found a special origin of spiritual energy from those little things before. Out of curiosity, I invited you to come and be my guest. The huge shadow said slowly. Lu Xuan nodded and suddenly understood. The King Mu origin energy came from the King Xuan deer. At that time, it helped it solve the obsession problem. Out of gratitude, the King Xuan deer condensed half of its life essence into an origin of spiritual energy and gave it to Lu Xuan. In addition, with my own special talent, I also detected the faint aura of countless spiritual plants on you, and thus learned that you have carefully cultivated many spiritual plants. Out of goodwill, I will show my body and meet you. The huge green shadow said gently, and the blurred facial features can feel the kindness and friendliness towards Lu Xuan. So that's how it is. I was worrying too much. That original spiritual energy was given by a high-level spiritual beast before its death, and it has been with me until now. As for spiritual plants, I have some talent and love for cultivation, and I have always regarded it as very important. Naturally, I will do my best and take care of them in every possible way when cultivating them. Lu Xuan said modestly. Chapter 679. Click to send. My friend, don't be modest. You have that special spiritual energy and experience in cultivating countless spiritual plants. It's worth it for me to come out and meet you. The huge green shadow lowered his head slightly, looked at Lu Xuan and said softly, "It's Milner." Lu Xuan smiled and asked, "I wonder what important matter you want to see me for." This Xuanji tree mother showed up, so it's natural that she wouldn't just meet him once. She must have something to ask him, but I don't know whether it's a blessing or a curse. What do you think of these tree girls? The shadow asked slowly. They are very good plant spirits, smart and cute, and make people feel good about them. Lu Xuan thought about it and replied. Tree maidens are a relatively rare species among plant spirits. They are innocent and pure by nature, and although they survive by absorbing the spiritual energy of plants and trees, they can change the spiritual environment around them, which is of great benefit to the growth of spiritual plants. I have another batch of little tree maidens about to be born, but they are quite picky. The plant's spiritual energy of ordinary spiritual plants can only provide limited help to their growth. In addition, there are already enough plant spirits here, but not enough high-level spiritual plants. Therefore, I want to give a few of the little tree maidens that have not yet been born to you to raise. Give them to me to raise? Lu Xuan was stunned. It was naturally great to be able to get these plant spirits for free, but he was a little worried whether it would affect the growth of those high-level spiritual plants in the spiritual fields. You don't have to worry about the spiritual plants you cultivate. The spiritual energy absorbed by the tree mother is very small, far less than the benefit to the spiritual plants. Besides, you can also use your special spiritual energy to feed them. If you feed them well, I will give you a rare spiritual seed of high level, if you have the chance to bring it here next time. I have been in the King Mustar cave for thousands and tens of thousands of years, and I still have some good stocks. The huge green shadow said slowly, with infinite temptation in his voice. The juniors love those tree mother elves very much, and they are willing to feed them. The reason why I hesitated just now is that I'm worried that I have no relevant feeding experience and I'm afraid that it will affect their growth. Lu Xuan heard this and immediately expressed his opinion. Although these tree mothers are not strong, most of them are in the foundation building stage, but they are rare species. They can be valued so much by the Xuanji tree mother, and their rank should not be lower than the 5th rank. In addition, they have special talents, and the rewards of the light balls they harvest must be extremely rich. The reason why he hesitated was that he was worried about affecting the growth of many high-level spiritual plants in the spiritual field. Now that he heard that the Xuanji tree mother would use rare spiritual seeds as a reward, that worry suddenly disappeared. Okay, then I'll trouble you, my friend. Follow me. The Xuanji tree mother said, and a green figure floated out of the huge green shadow, taking Lu Xuan into the underground green world. An ancient tree that was lush and green grew in a green spiritual pool, with 20 or 30 light green buds on the tree. The buds were tightly closed, slightly expanding and contracting, as if they were nurturing life, and some were slightly open, revealing the thumb-sized tree mother inside, with closed eyes, green lines wrapped around her body, and a cute and naive look. The tree mother inside has not yet been born, my friend. You can inject a wisp of that special plant spirit into the 6 buds that are about to bloom. While giving birth to the tree mother, she will also become dependent on you and recognize you as the master. The figure separated from the Xuanji tree mother said to Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan nodded and came to the ancient tree. The light green light in his dantian rotated slightly, and a wisp of greenwood source energy flowed out from his fingertips and penetrated into the flower bud. Under the stimulation of the greenwood source energy, the flower bud accelerated its blooming speed. The tree lady inside opened her gem-like little eyes, waved her wet wings, and came to Lu Xuan. Little tree lady, click to send. An idea flashed through Lu Xuan's mind, and he followed the same method, using the greenwood source energy to click on the other 5 flower buds that were about to bloom. After a while, there were 6 tree ladies around him. After they were tired of flying, they landed on his shoulders or even on his head, showing a sense of intimacy and dependence on Lu Xuan. These 6 little elves are left to you, my friend. If you have a chance, you can bring them here for me to see. There was a bit of loss in the green figure's tone. The junior will definitely raise them carefully, and when they grow to a certain stage, I will bring them here for you to see, Lu Xuan said in a firm tone. His mind was focused on a tree lady beside him, and he immediately learned detailed information about them. Tree lady, a rare plant spirit, born as a mother, innocent by nature, living on the spiritual energy of spiritual plants and plants, can grow to the 5th grade, can change the surrounding spiritual energy environment during growth, which is conducive to the growth of spiritual plants, and will gradually comprehend wood-related secrets and even magical powers. I didn't expect these tree ladies to have a high growth potential up to the 5th grade, but the growth cycle of plant spirits is not shorter than that of monsters of the same level, and it will take many years for them to fully mature. It's just that there are so many high-level spiritual plants in the spiritual field of the cave, so their growth should be accelerated, Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. Back under the green giant screen, Xuanji Tree Mother gave a few instructions, and her tall body turned into green dots flying all over the sky, either merging into the bodies of many plant spirits below, or flying to an unknown distance. Your sister, I will raise her. He smiled and said to the tree ladies who led him in. The exquisite little man tilted his head, expressing his incomprehension. Haha, okay, I'm leaving now, see you later. Next time I come to King Mu's Star Cave, I'll bring you more delicious food. Lu Xuan laughed heartily and waved goodbye to the tree ladies. He performed the wood escape technique and shuffled through the endless giant trees. In the perception of spiritual consciousness, he soon came to the edge of the woods. He showed his figure, controlled the wind and thunder sword, and rushed to the entrance of King Mu's Star Cave at a high speed. When passing by a valley, his heart suddenly jumped. Before he could react, countless flesh and blood arms emerged from the valley and enveloped Lu Xuan from all directions. The strong bloody smell from the arms made Lu Xuan feel dizzy. Countless arms intertwined together like a dense net, blocking all Lu Xuan's retreat. Lu Xuan was calm and composed. With a single wave of his hand, a blue-black humanoid figure shot out and landed in front of him. Before the 5th grade multi-armed corpse slave landed, the 18 strange arms that had grown out of it expanded rapidly and swam flexibly, resisting the blood and flesh net that surrounded it from all directions, leaving a lot of space for Lu Xuan. At the same time, outside the blood and flesh net, a fat monk with a body like a meat mountain quietly appeared, looking at the trapped Lu Xuan with a smug smile on his face. I finally caught you. Be honest, let me eat you obediently, and don't affect the quality of your meat. Or thought came into Lu Xuan's ears. Really? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Lu Xuan seemed to have expected it, and the Peacock King sword in his danshan shone with golden light. Chapter 680 Speed Kill. The multi-armed corpse slave held up the fierce blood and flesh net, giving Lu Xuan a chance to catch his breath. With a thought, the low-level magic weapon Peacock King sword nurtured in his danshan immediately responded. With a long roar, a peacock with dazzling golden light shot out from the sky. The peacock feathers were like sharp swords, and the sword intent was surging. There seemed to be a four-armed bodhisattva phantom on its back. The phantom sensed the evil aura in the blood and flesh net, and waved its forearms. The peacock's light became brighter and it quickly shuttled through the net. Wherever it passed, the blood and flesh that made up the net melted rapidly like snow in the scorching sun, and only some fragments were left in an instant. Lu Xuan stood on the back of the multi-armed corpse slave, letting its arms protect its body, and jumped out of the valley. Good. I didn't expect that you, a spiritual plant master in the early stage of Giandan, actually have such a rare 5th grade evil object and such a powerful flying sword magic weapon. It seems that you usually hide your incompetence. The meat mountain monk smiled sinisterly, and the fat on his face kept shaking. Pieces of it fell down, and were caught by a long grey-black tongue below, and swallowed in one gulp. He looked at the Peacock King sword and the multi-armed corpse slave in front of Lu Xuan, and a trace of heat flashed in his eyes. These two treasures are extraordinary at first glance. I thought it would be good to be able to eat Lu Xuan's body with tsui meat, but I didn't expect such an unexpected gain. In his mind, getting the two treasures is already a sure thing. Although Lu Xuan's two treasures are powerful, they are still a little weaker than his, and it is even more impossible to make up for the difference in cultivation between the two. One is in the middle stage of Jianden, and his subordinates have killed countless people, while the other is in the early stage of Jianden, and is still a spiritual plant master. There is a huge difference in strength. How did you know I would pass by here? Lu Xuan's face was gloomy. Since he found out that this Meat Mountain monk had ill intentions towards him, he tried every means to avoid him. When he left King Mustar cave, he deliberately concealed his whereabouts and performed the wood escape technique for a long time. Unexpectedly, he was still stopped by this evil cultivator. Wait for you to surrender. If the meat is delicious, I will tell you the reason. The Meat Mountain monk looked at Lu Xuan's body with a greedy attitude. No need, I'll interrogate you myself. Before Lu Xuan finished speaking, the magic weapon Peacock King sword in front of him turned into a golden light, carrying a strong and domineering Buddhist power, and shot towards the Meat Mountain monk like a meteor. Since he couldn't hide, he would have a head-on collision. With many treasures in his hands, he was no longer worried about the threat of the Meat Mountain monk to himself. The golden light came to the Meat Mountain monk in a flash with a strong killing intention. The Meat Mountain monk closed his palms, and a huge shield with countless black flesh squirming appeared in front of him, blocking the Peacock King sword in a flash. The black flesh on the shield expanded rapidly, and black smoke billowed, as if it was going to pollute Lu Xuan's flying sword magic weapon. Under Lu Xuan's spiritual control, the golden light of the Peacock King sword dissipated, and several phantoms were separated, flexibly drilling out of the black flesh. This exquisite change was exactly the sword art of splitting light and escape shadows that Lu Xuan had realized. Swordsmanship is so exquisite. The Meat Mountain monk was surprised and looked a little serious. A huge bulge appeared in his thick neck, and the flesh and blood bloomed like flowers, revealing a white skull. The white bone was a low-level magic weapon that he had been practicing for many years. As soon as it appeared, it grew in the wind and became the size of a hill in an instant, accompanied by a sky full of yin energy. Various ghosts in the yin energy wailed and came to Lu Xuan's head in an instant. The giant bone hammer came with great force, and Lu Xuan could not dodge it. With a thought, the 18 arms of the multi-armed corpse slave quickly grew larger to block the giant bone hammer. The falling speed of the giant hammer slowed down a bit, and Lu Xuan's arms turned into crystal jade color. His body enlarged, blood and energy surged, and he punched out. He practiced the superior body refining technique, and took a variety of spiritual fruits and spiritual medicines to strengthen the body, including rare treasures such as the 6th grade Tsui meat. His body has become extremely strong, and his strength swept like a gust of wind, smashing the giant bone hammer. The green shoes under his feet appeared with green light, and when he was about to dodge the giant bone hammer, his spiritual consciousness was keen to detect that in the rolling yin ki, there were several black snakes as thick as thighs attacking from all directions. Lu Xuan was not surprised. The mirage pearl in his throat jumped, and he roared. Roar. Like a thunderous explosion, the sound waves were like a surging tide. Wherever it passed, the yin ki and the black snakes inside retreated rapidly. He knew that he was in danger, and he no longer held back. The 6th grade treasure, the ghostly sorrow picture, flew out of the gluttonous insect sack. The grey-white ancient painting opened, and the grieving ghost inside flew out. Suddenly, the area within a few miles was filled with a thick resentment that seemed to be tangible. 6th grade treasure? Although the Meat Mountain monk did not know the origin of the ancient painting, he could still feel the powerful spiritual fluctuations from the ancient painting, and a look of horror appeared on his face. He knew that he had completely underestimated Lu Xuan, and made a decision immediately. The long grey-black tongue shot out from his body, and the entire Meat Mountain turned into countless pieces of flesh and blood, forming a sea of corpses and blood, covering the sky and the earth, and attacked Lu Xuan. Ah! A deep sigh of extreme resentment sounded, and a huge white shadow floated in the blood and flesh like a feather. The flesh and blood, that looked like a sea of corpses, seemed to be affected by the white shadow. Nearly half of the flesh stopped in the air, and completely lost control. The remaining fighting spirit receded a lot, and the bloody smell that choked people's ears and noses suddenly became much lighter. When the monks turned into pieces of flesh and blood, Lu Xuan took out a blue-black Buddha statue that was stepping on countless demons from his storage bag. Amid the chanting of the Buddha, the blue-black Buddha statue grew rapidly, and the Buddha light of the Vajra pestle in his hand was shining brightly. A Buddhist Dharma image with a height of 100 feet appeared out of thin air. The Dharma image was wide open and majestic and mysterious. He looked at the countless pieces of flesh and blood below and slapped his palm fiercely. It was the 6th grade treasure harvested from the Vajra body light group, the prison suppressing Vajra statue, which could summon the prison suppressing Vajra Dharma image to subdue demons and kill evil spirits. Under the suppression of the Dharma image, countless flesh and blood fell like heavy rain, piling up a thick layer on the ground. I will never reconcile with you. The consciousness of the monk who remained in the flesh and blood transmitted a thought, and the remaining hundreds of pieces of flesh and blood fled in all directions. In the sky, a huge grey-white eye had been ready for a long time, staring at the many pieces of flesh and blood. Suddenly, the flesh mountain monk's eyes were full of illusions, and he stopped involuntarily. In just a few moments, a silver white cone engraved with countless mysterious runes flashed by, and the remaining soul of the monk was hit again. Then, a dark blue cloth bag flashed by, wrapping up the hundreds of pieces of flesh and blood that escaped, as well as the countless pieces of flesh and blood that were infected by the ghost Sorrow strange picture, and suppressed by the prison Vajra statue. Together with many treasures, they disappeared together, and entered Lu Xuan's dungeon. Fortunately, there is a space-type magic weapon called the gluttonous insect capsule, otherwise so much flesh and blood may not be able to be contained. Lu Xuan sighed, and his spiritual consciousness swept around. After confirming that there was no abnormality, he used the earth walking beads to perform the magical earth escape technique in the Earth Yuan secret book, and disappeared in an instant. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 681 A Little Understanding. I didn't expect that I would run into the fat monk who had been coveting me for a long time, just after leaving the cave. Fortunately, I was able to get rid of him without any danger. It can be regarded as a permanent solution. Wait, it has not been completely solved yet. At least we have to find out how he knew my whereabouts. In the Thunder Mars cave, Lu Xuan crawled out of the soil and appeared outside the cave formation. The Void Nightmare Eyes had already confirmed that there was nothing abnormal around. He immediately opened the formation and entered the cave, and his heart, which had been hanging in the air, finally relaxed. Although it seems that it was smooth to deal with the middle stage of the Giant this time. In fact, almost all of my means were used. Lu Xuan did not have any arrogant thoughts when he solved a middle stage of the Giant cultivator with the early stage of the Giant realm. He was able to easily kill the other party because he relied entirely on the high-level treasures he obtained from the light ball, the low-level magic weapon Peacock King's sword, the gluttonous insect capsule, the 5th grade treasures multi-armed corpse slave, mirage sound orb, void nightmare eyes, and the thorn god all, as well as 2 crucial 6th grade treasures. The ghost's strange plan was strong control, and the prison suppressing Vajra statue attacked strongly, and it had the effect of restraining demons and evil spirits. Many higher level treasures, plus his own strong body, and 2 5th grade sword techniques, made it easy to deal with the opponent. As for the countless pieces of flesh and blood in the gluttonous insect sack, there was no need to worry about hurting himself. After the gluttonous insect sack was refined into a magic weapon, in addition to the space being enlarged again, it could be sent and received freely, and it also had the sealing function that most space-type magic weapons had. In addition, most of the flesh and blood were suppressed by the Buddha's power of the prison suppressing Vajra statue, and the small part that escaped was also severely injured and could not make any waves. It's time to settle accounts with you. He came to the yard and set a ban. The Peacock King sword was flying around him, and there was also a Tai Thunder talisman ready to go. Then, with a thought, dozens of pieces of black and red flesh and blood flew out of the gluttonous insect sack. As soon as it appeared, the flesh and blood seemed to be untied, and took the initiative to move towards the other party. Lu Xuan sneered, and the Peacock King sword uttered a crisp sword whistle. The Buddha's light was bright, and a golden light surrounded all the flesh and blood, dividing them into even pieces again. The flesh and blood were unwilling to give up, and dark green buds grew on the surface, flying wantonly, trying to hook up with the other pieces. Just accept the current state honestly. If you are cut into pieces again, I'm afraid you won't even be able to move in the future. Lu Xuan raised the corner of his mouth and said coldly, looking at the many pieces of flesh and blood that were still struggling in front of him. The flesh and blood stopped in the air and didn't move. The fat monk's soul drilled out of one of the pieces, looking at Lu Xuan with fear on his face. Dao is hiding too deeply. I'm afraid no monk can imagine that a spiritual plant master who stays in the cave every day actually has so many rare treasures. I think I'm unlucky to fall into your hands this time. The monk's soul said in a muffled voice, with endless regret in his tone. He was a mid-stage giant and cultivator, one level higher than Lu Xuan, and had rich experience in life and death struggles. He thought that dealing with Lu Xuan would be easy, but he didn't expect to be easily solved by his treasures one after another. As a spiritual plant master, since I'm not good at fighting, in order to enhance my own protection, it is reasonable to sell all the spiritual plants I cultivate and exchange them for some treasures, right? Lu Xuan said with a smile. Forget it, it's my lack of strength that I fell into your hands. Daoist friend, there is no need to say these provocations, just do whatever you want. The cultivator's soul shook and instantly dimmed a lot. Lu Xuan's vigilance did not decrease at all, and he looked coldly at the many pieces of flesh and blood in front of him. I think you should know your fate, but before that, I have a question for you. How did you know my whereabouts? As a spiritual plant master, you will naturally attend the small meeting held by Yulin Sanran in King Mustar Cave. I ambushed at the entrance of King Mustar Cave in advance, but I didn't expect. The obese monk's flesh and blood surface showed blurred facial features that were reduced many times, and he said in a low voice, do you think I will believe you? Lu Xuan looked calm. It was really that the timing and location of the monk's sneak attack were too precise. Even though he was so cautious, he still found an opportunity. If he didn't have special means, it would be difficult to do it. Is that so? I'm in the middle stage of Giandan, and I still need to use other means? The blurred facial features on the flesh and blood said unwillingly, if you don't cooperate, then I can only use special means. A smile appeared at the corner of Lu Xuan's mouth. I accidentally got a set of evil skills before, and I know a little about those soul-searching secrets, but I haven't had the opportunity to use them yet. I can use you as an experiment, Lu Xuan said, and before the flesh and blood in front of him could react, a drop of blood oozed out from his fingertips. With a move of his spiritual consciousness, black lines flew out from the fragments of the monk's flesh and blood, and merged into the blood. The blood in all the flesh and blood burned instantly, and the blood and fire were like a ulcer attached to the bones, which could not be dispelled no matter what. It not only acted on the flesh and blood, but also seemed to burn the monk's soul. Lu Xuan watched the flesh and blood sizzle in quietly, and heard the monk's painful wails. This technique is called the burning blood technique, which comes from the 6th grade technique blood nerve. Although Lu Xuan did not practice the technique, he mastered a few of the blood secrets attached to blood nerve in his spare time, which happened to be useful in this scene. Stop it, fellow Taoist, I said. It was not until the fat monk's residual soul begged him for mercy that Lu Xuan withdrew the burning blood secret technique. I didn't know that you would attend the treasure exchange meeting held by the spiritual plant master, so I found a King Muzingdang cultivator and used some tricks to find out your movements. Who? Lu Xuan's expression turned cold when he heard this. King Muzingdang Jiandan Zenran, Huang Yandang. The figure of the skinny old man immediately appeared in Lu Xuan's mind. He was in the early stage of Jiandan cultivation. When he approached him before, he also felt the unique aura of evil spiritual plants from him. He also planted a lot of spiritual plants himself, and was quite interested in the spiritual plants in Daoist Lu's spiritual field. When he knew that I intended to deal with Daoist Lu, he immediately hit it off. What means did he use to let you find me without me noticing? Lu Xuan asked calmly. It is the pollen of the dustless flower. It is colorless and odorless, and difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. In an environment like the King Mustar Cave, even if it falls on a cultivator, it will not arouse any suspicion. But there is a kind of alien insect that is extremely sensitive to the pollen of the dustless flower and has a unique sensing ability. I use that alien insect to roughly figure out the location of the Taoist friend and set up an ambush in advance. The soul of the Meat Mountain cultivator explained to Lu Xuan in detail. Very good. You can leave a whole body, but you are still useful for the time being, so I will spare your life for now, Lu Xuan said with a smile. Chapter 682. Raising seeds with one's own body. The remaining soul on the flesh felt something was wrong when he saw Lu Xuan's expression. Dao, it's my bad luck to fall into your hands. I have explained the tracking method you asked about. Just give me a quick death. It's just your one-sided statement at the moment. You should make a vow to the inner demon first. Lu Xuan nodded his chin at the pieces of flesh. After the cultivator's soul made a vow to the inner demon, he believed it about 70%. According to the cultivator's instructions, he found the alien insect in his storage bag. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, he only trapped it with a ban and did not destroy it directly. As for the meat mountain cultivator, he had already thought about how to deal with it. This flesh and blood was most suitable for raising the flesh spirit god and cultivating many evil spirit plants. It was both high quality and quantity, and it was worth countless monsters. Keeping his life was to ensure the freshness of the flesh and blood to the greatest extent. After all, the quality of the flesh cut directly from the body was still much worse than that stored in the gluttonous insect capsule. In addition, if this meat mountain monk is alive, with his recovery ability in the middle stage of Jinden, he can continue to proliferate blood and flesh, so as to make the best use of his body. Lu Xuan was not in a hurry to raise the meat spirit god. He took out the monk's storage bag, broke the simple restrictions on it, and took out all the items inside. To low-level magic weapons, one is the evil and mysterious black meat shield, which has strong defensive capabilities and can attack the enemy at the same time, and the other is the white bone giant hammer, which also has a good power. There is also a 5th grade flying sword. Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness checked it briefly and obviously saw that it was very different from his own Peacock King sword, so he temporarily put it in the storage bag and waited for the right opportunity to deal with it. There are also several 4th grade magic tools, many bottles and jars. Judging from their aura, there are many poison pills among them, which can be used to add several new toxins to the poisonous heart-eating insects. There are also some talismans, most of which are of the 3rd and 4th grades. With Lu Xuan's current vision, he has long looked down on these, but they can still be exchanged for a lot of spirit stones. Finally, there was a mountain of spiritual stones. There were many low-grade and medium-grade spiritual stones. Lu Xuan's spiritual sense swept through and found that there were no less than 100,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Maybe this is the wealth of an ordinary giant and casual cultivator, Lu Xuan muttered to himself. After all, he was a mid-stage giant and cultivator, but the treasures on his body were not very impressive. Of course, this was only a relatively large fortune. In addition, we must get rid of the skinny old man in the early stage of Jinden as soon as possible to avoid him discovering something unusual and fleeing far away. Lu Xuan thought to himself and decided to get rid of the skinny old man who provided his whereabouts to the meat mountain cultivator as soon as possible. He cleaned off the imperceptible watch and flower pollen on his body, changed his clothes, and after confirming that he was in good condition, he entered the King Mustar cave again. He found a deserted place, put on the Kayan Kianwei mask, changed his face, and sneaked into the vicinity of the skinny old man's cave. There was a protective formation outside the cave. Although Lu Xuan had the absolute strength to break the formation, he didn't want to make a big noise, so he took out a small dark arrow from the storage bag. There was a black gas lingering on the small arrow, which seemed to be constantly moving like a life, and the arrowhead seemed to be staring at a blurry human face. It was the 5th grade evil treasure from the 4th grade Arrowvine Light group, the nail-headed arrow, which was condensed with a mysterious curse. You can imagine the other party's appearance, breath, real name, etc., to stimulate the small arrow. After it is used, cultivators below the Jinden realm will die directly, and cultivators at the Jinden realm have a certain probability of falling. At the least, their souls will be damaged, and at the worst, their souls will be scattered. Fortunately, there is such a secret treasure of yin people. A smile appeared on the corner of Lu Xuan's mouth, and his spiritual power stimulated the dark arrow, imagining Huang Yandang's appearance and breath in his mind. The blurry facial features of the human face on the arrowhead became clearer and clearer, and it was vaguely similar to the skinny old man. Inside the cave, the skinny old man stood in front of several spirit plants that looked like evil spirits, and took out a young and beautiful key training girl from his storage bag. Then, in the girl's horrified eyes, he threw her to the spirit plants nearby. "Good babies, today I'll give you some fresh blood food." The skinny old man smiled sinisterly, watching the girl being sucked by the evil spirit plants until only a skeleton was left, and a trace of joy and satisfaction appeared on his face. Speaking of which, the old man Rauschen should have dealt with the spiritual plant master in Lihuaxing Cave. A middle-stage giant and evil cultivator, with cultivation, treasures, and fighting experience, is much stronger than before. He can easily deal with an early-stage giant and spiritual plant master who has been staying in the cave for many years. According to the previous agreement, he gets the spiritual plant master's body, and I get most of the spiritual plants. Although I don't know what he is up to, but with just a little dustless flower pollen, he can get a large number of high-level spiritual plants without any effort. Where else can I find such a good thing? Thinking of this, he could no longer suppress his joy, and laughed with his head raised. After cultivating several spiritual plants and about to return to the house, suddenly, a dark light flashed in his eyes. Before he could react, the dark light appeared directly in his sea of consciousness, and pierced his soul directly. The skinny old man seemed to feel that his soul was directly shattered. The pain from the depths of his soul made him wail continuously. His facial features were violently deformed, and blood flowed from his 7 orifices. "You want my spiritual plant? With your little spiritual plant attainment, I'm afraid you can't eat it." In a trance, he saw a handsome young man appear in front of him, speaking to him in a gentle tone. "It's you? You're not dead." The old man saw Xuan, and looked as if he had seen a ghost. "I'm sorry to disappoint you." Xuan's mind moved, and the multi-armed corpse slave flashed in front of the old man. 18 dark blue arms quickly removed the old man's limbs, and then locked his broken body tightly like a chain. "I know that you are quite interested in my spiritual plant. Luke came here specially to invite you into the cave to meet your request. It's just that there are too many spiritual plants in the spiritual field. I'm afraid you can't handle it. Therefore, I can only give you one of my beloved spiritual seeds to cultivate on your behalf. You must take good care of my spiritual plant." Xuan chuckled and implanted a piece of dark fang skeleton into the old man's broken body. The skeleton is a special spiritual seed found at a cultivator's stall called the Fang Bone Demon Seed of the 6th grade, and must be planted in a flesh and blood body using various skeletons as nutrients. The closer the spiritual plant is to maturity, the more the flesh and blood body as a spiritual field will wither until it dies. Since you like spiritual plants so much, then I'll let you grow a 6th grade spiritual plant that you couldn't imagine before. Xuan smiled. As for the 6th grade Fangbone Demon Seed needing to be planted in a demon body, it's not a big problem for him. For an evil cultivator, it's easy to transform into a demon, isn't it? Chapter 683 The Dead Tree. After implanting the Fangbone Demon plant into the skinny old man's incomplete body, Xuan, who has always been frugal, did not forget to put away his limbs. Although the weight is not much, it is at least from the flesh and blood of a giant and cultivator, and the quality is high, which is particularly suitable for cultivating evil spiritual plants in the spiritual field. Then, he entered the spiritual field under the old man's angry and fearful eyes. After all, the skinny old man is not like him, who specializes in cultivating spiritual plants. The area of the spiritual field is less than 10% of the size of his cave. There are many spiritual plants, but the grade is not high, mainly 3rd grade, and a few 4th grade, which are some common varieties. Xuan's sight was attracted by several strange spiritual plants. The black branches of the spiritual plants are fangs and claws, like evil spirits, and a strong resentment flows from them, as if they are evil. Is this the breath of the spiritual plants that I sensed in Yulin Sanrin's cave? The resentment is so deep, no wonder I can easily detect it. Seeing Xuan approaching, the branches of the evil spiritual plants frantically flew, making a posture of attacking at any time. Xuan snorted, and there was a faint sound of thunder in his voice. The spiritual plant was very spiritual. After sensing his power, it immediately calmed down, with its branches drooping and motionless. This is a good spiritual plant, Xuan exclaimed, pulled the spiritual plant out of the spiritual soil, and replanted it. His mind was focused on this spiritual plant that looked like a ghost, and detailed information about it suddenly appeared in his mind. Chimu, a 5th grade spiritual plant. Spiritual wood breeds a special kind of plant spirit in an environment of extremely rich yin and resentment, which possesses the spiritual plant. It is fierce by nature, and has a certain ability to move. It feeds on fresh blood and flesh. When mature, it can be refined into a puppet treasure or a Chimu clone, and it can also assist in the practice of certain special evil magic. Watching your body being eaten bit by bit is the most delicious food. The 5th grade spiritual plant, like the tree lady, is considered a kind of plant spirit, but the tree lady is kind, while the Chimu is evil. It is the type that will be cleared out in the King Mu Star Cave as soon as possible. Lu Xuan sighed in his heart. 3 of the 4 Chimu have entered the mature stage, and 1 is a seedling, which still has great cultivation value. If Lu Xuan cultivates the mature spiritual plants again, he will most likely not get the light ball reward. Even if he gets it, the reward will be greatly reduced. Lu Xuan does not have much expectation in his heart. On the contrary, the seedling can still be cultivated and planted, and the light ball can be harvested when it matures. Of course, although he may not get the light ball, Lu Xuan does not mind having a few more 5th grade spiritual plants in the cave. After all, these 3 Chimu are not far from maturity, and they can be cultivated without spending a lot of time and energy, and they can also be exchanged for valuable spiritual stones. He carefully transplanted all the spiritual plants, and put them into the gluttonous insect capsule. The skinny old man who was tied up by the multi-armed corpse slaves looked at the carefully cultivated spiritual plants falling into Lu Xuan's hands, and his eyes were red with anger. In front of the master, he took away his beloved things wantonly. Isn't this a classic plot in the movies and TV shows of the previous life? Well, a spiritual plant husband is also a husband. Lu Xuan couldn't bear to see the skinny old man in such pain, so he rolled him into the gluttonous insect sack and quietly escaped. I left quietly, just as I came quietly. I waved my sleeves and took away all the spiritual plants. In the Thunder Mars cave, Lu Xuan restored his original appearance, pretending to be back from an exploration, and shuttled through the subtle lightning in the sky. Dao Yao Lu, I didn't expect to see you outside Dao Yao's cave. That's really rare. When he was still hundreds of miles away from the cave, Lu Xuan met a familiar giant and cultivator. The 2 caves were less than 1,000 miles apart, and they had met several times. It's fellow Daoist Gao. It's been a long time since we last met. How are you these days? Lu Xuan greeted the tall and thin cultivator in the early Giant stage. Everything is fine. Thank you for your concern. Is fellow Daoist Lu going back to the cave? The tall and thin cultivator looked at Lu Xuan and asked curiously. Yes, I heard that there were several new spiritual plants in a small secret realm in the Star Cave. Out of curiosity, I went there after knowing that the secret realm was relatively safe. I see. Did you get anything? I was lucky enough to get several rare spiritual plants. Lu Xuan said with a smile. That's good. Fellow Daoist is so cautious. He must have been absolutely sure before exploring the secret realm. The tall and thin cultivator nodded without any doubt. By the way, fellow Daoist Lu, I was just about to invite a few fellow Daoists to hunt a 5th grade thunder beast in the depths of the Thunder Sea. Are you willing to go with us? Lu Xuan shook his head quickly. Fellow Daoist Gao, you know me well. I never take the initiative to hunt monsters or anything like that. When I go to the Thunder Sea occasionally, I explore the edge and search for spiritual thunder. I never dare to go deep into the central area. In order not to hold you back, I just say sorry. He sighed, and it was completely impossible to tell that he had just killed 2 giant and cultivators with a thunderous attitude. Haha, then I won't force you. Next time, come to fellow Daoist Lu's cave and taste the spiritual fruit and spiritual wine you personally cultivated and brewed. The tall and thin cultivator laughed heartily. Welcome, welcome, it's Milner. Lu Xuan smiled back. The 2 said goodbye. Lu Xuan successfully returned to the cave and came to the netherworld spiritual field area. Planting the 4 Kai trees in it, the yin energy in the netherworld area suddenly became 3 times thicker. Lu Xuan was used to it and said to the ghost-like spiritual plants, "This place is not like the place where you grew up before, where there are only some things you can bully at will. There are many spiritual plants that are stronger and more fierce than you. Be honest, and I can provide you with fresh blood regularly. Otherwise, I will feed it directly." Lu Xuan pointed to the demon ghost vine that was playing with the evil tree demon. The demon ghost vine is also of the 5th grade, and it feeds on spiritual plants, so there is no need to worry about what these demon trees will cause. Little fatty, you should pay more attention to these spiritual plants. If there is anything unusual, tell me directly. He also specifically instructed the flesh spirit god. After all, the demon wood is an alien spiritual plant, and it is extremely fierce. He is worried that it will affect other evil spiritual plants in the spiritual field, so he must be treated with caution. The flesh spirit god rolled his round body back and forth and nodded. "Yes, let me give you a taste of high quality flesh and blood today." Lu Xuan took out a piece of flesh and blood from the gluttonous insect sack and threw it to the light red meatball. The meatball was extremely sensitive to the smell of flesh and blood. It instantly sensed the unusualness of this piece of flesh and blood. The flesh waves rolled, revealing the hideous cracks inside. No. The pieces of flesh and blood separated from the meat mountain monk seemed to contain a trace of his consciousness. After sensing the horror of the meat spirit god, he roared miserably. The flesh and blood fragments quickly grew tentacle-like limbs, trying to escape from the big meatball. The meat spirit god opened his mouth and sucked, and the flesh and blood fragments suddenly broke silently, turning into a wisp of blood and gas, and sucked it clean. Hiccup. The hiccup sounded unsatisfied. Chapter 684. Wow. After swallowing the flesh of the meat mountain monk, the big meatball swayed from side to side, savoring the wonderful taste of flesh and blood, becoming more and more excited, and finally bounced up and down on the ground, with layers of flesh folds swaying with it. Delicious. Delicious. It conveyed a thought to Lu Xuan. A smile appeared on the corner of Lu Xuan's mouth. After all, the meat mountain monk was in the middle stage of Jinden, and he had cultivated the evil magic of flesh and blood. The taste was naturally much stronger than those monsters. He sensed the current state of the meat spirit god, and decided to find an opportunity to verify its current strength. A disaster level evil spirit, with an amazing growth rate, should have the strength of a mid-stage foundation building monk at present. Lu Xuan sighed secretly, and took out the palm-sized gorgeous bark. As soon as the bark appeared on his palm, the gorgeous patterns on the surface rushed to Lu Xuan, as if they wanted to merge into his body and take it for themselves. Lu Xuan's blood shook the gorgeous patterns away and planted the bark in the dark mud meat. "You are still a long way from being able to take over my body, so you should grow up first. When you mature, I will give you another chance to possess my body." He sent a thought to the gorgeous bark in the dark mud meat. After leaving the underworld spiritual field, he looked calm and inspected the fields, carefully observing the detailed status of each spiritual plant. When he was casting the spiritual rain spell on the water firefly grass, a silver white sharp horn appeared in the azure grass. The sharp horn was motionless, as if it was deliberately hiding its body. After Lu Xuan left, the silver white sharp horn emerged from the next clump of water fireflies. "Are you playing hide and seek with me?" Lu Xuan couldn't help laughing, and took a few steps forward, and pulled the young thunder dragon from the water firefly. The thunder dragon danced its limbs randomly, making a short thundering sound. The sound was crisp, without the might of other thunder beasts when they roared, not to mention its ancestor, the green-horned thunder sea. It looks like it's been doing well in the cave during this period. Lu Xuan sighed as he looked at the chubby thunder dragon hound, whose body was becoming rounder. After leaving the Thunder Dragon Hound's territory, the Thunder Dragon Hound not only gained some weight, but its previously withdrawn personality also improved greatly, and it even took the initiative to show its closeness to Lu Xuan. He stroked the silver white pointed horns on the top of the Thunder Dragon Hound's head, took out a thunderstorm lotus seed from the storage bag, and fed it to the young beast. Crack. The familiar voice of the fat bad sounded. The Thunder Dragon Hound rolled a few times in Lu Xuan's arms, and left reluctantly. This fat bird has worked hard. It used to take care of the Lihuojiao, and then the Lihuojiao and the Thunder Dragon Hound. It has decades of experience as a nurse, before it has conceived a child. Lu Xuan looked at the direction where the fat bird's voice came from and couldn't help thinking. In his sight, the thunder dragon hound was on its way back, and a dark blue muddy giant turtle rushed towards it quickly. The young beast immediately forgot the fat bird's call and played with the rock-shelled turtle. Its silver white body soon became dirty. It's not easy to take care of a little demon beast. Lu Xuan sighed and decided to find an opportunity to thank the fat bird Feng Falcon for his hard work. Speaking of which, this rock-shelled turtle is almost fully grown. While concentrating his mind, he noticed that the progress bar below the rock-shelled turtle was about to be filled. Then I can harvest another good ball of light. Thinking of this, he felt even happier. After checking and caring for all the spiritual plants, he came to the place with the most concentrated spiritual energy in the cave and took out the 6 little tree girls. Coming from the gluttonous insect sack to the new environment, the 6 little elves seemed to have no reaction. They opened their ignorant and innocent eyes and looked around stupidly. After seeing Lu Xuan, they sensed the familiar breath of the greenwood source energy in his body and flew to him one after another, not daring to leave even a step. Relax, this will be your new home from now on. The Xuanji tree mother has entrusted you to me to raise, and I will definitely not let her down. All the spiritual plants in the cave, as long as you like them, you can go and collect the spiritual energy of the plants. Lu Xuan said gently. Hearing his words, the eyes of the little tree girls lit up, and then they noticed what kind of environment they were in. Wow. Wow. So many spiritual plants. The many spiritual plants made them forget the discomfort brought by the unfamiliar environment. The 6 tree girls rushed to the nearest water firefly grass and found the 5 thunder twin flowers, snow barrier ice jade lotus and other 5th grade spiritual plants in front of them. Just as they were about to fall into them, they found the sitting Buddha lotus, crepe myrtle thunder fruit, and pure bottle willow and other 6th grade spiritual plants. Oh my god. What kind of spiritual plant is this? When they came to the 7th grade Yemukingli vine, the little tree girls were speechless and petrified in the air, with only the light green wings as thin as cicada wings flapping instinctively. What kind of fairyland is this? The little heads of the tree girls were filled with doubts. Compared with the environment that nurtured them before, it was so happy to live in this world before their eyes. In such a constant exclamation, even though Lu Xuan had a strong will that had been trained countless times in the red dust monument, he could not suppress his inner pride and kept smiling. The emotional value is full. The tree girls grew up in the cave, which was beneficial to him. Although they would absorb a little bit of the spiritual energy of many high-level spiritual plants, their size would not have much effect on high-level spiritual plants. At the same time, they could also improve the spiritual environment, which had a positive effect on spiritual plants. At the same time, he could also use King Mu Yuan Qi to feed them. If it was not enough, he could just use the nailing grass beads to supplement it. There were a lot of Zhangyuan grass planted in the spiritual field, so there was no need to worry about the lack of nailing grass beads. There were other restrictions on the spiritual field in the underworld, so there was no need to worry about these innocent little tree girls breaking into it. Lu Xuan gave the tree mother a few instructions and let them grow freely in the cave. Then, the green shoes under his feet appeared with spiritual light, and he shot up into the sky like a rocket. In the sky, 6 5th grade starfruits from the Halao Chamber of Commerce slowly rotated. Under the shining starlight, the bright light on the surface of the spirit seeds was floating, as if echoing with the stars at the end of the sky. Lu Xuan's spiritual sense carefully perceived that there was a trace of starlight inside the spirit seed that was about to break through the epidermis. The starlight was fluctuating, revealing a vigorous vitality. It should be able to take root and sprout in a while. But in addition to using starlight to shine, daily spiritual rain to cultivate, and wood growth techniques to accelerate growth, I have to find some star-related spiritual minerals to make the starfruit grow better. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. Back in the spiritual field, he entered a simple restriction. The restriction was covered with a thick layer of silver white sand and gravel, and only one spirit seed was planted, which was the 6th grade Felici given by King Jiaolisi. Flying Thunder Gynoderma prefers thunder type spiritual energy in spiritual objects. It will be attracted to them during its growth and unconsciously approach them. For this restless spiritual plant, it must be restricted to fix it in an area. Sure enough, the spiritual seed has deviated a lot from its previous position before it took root and sprouted. Lu Xuan looked at the spiritual seed with the silver white shadow of Gynoderma lucidum hidden in the spiritual soil and smiled helplessly. Chapter 685, The Poisonous Sutra. After inspecting and cultivating all the spiritual plants in the spiritual field, Lu Xuan returned to the yard. He took out the lifeless Kingailin embryo from the storage bag. He placed the embryo in a simple spirit gathering formation, and the light green light ball in the danshan accelerated its rotation, and the greenwood source energy as thick as a finger was injected into the embryo. After a while, the light green light ball shrank by more than half, and the green jade ball in front of him still did not react. Lu Xuan was not anxious in his heart. It would not be a matter of one day or one night to wake up the Kingailin cub that was in deep sleep. He had to do it slowly. Concentrating his mind on the dead fetus, Lu Xuan realized that the sleeping cub inside had a faint connection with himself. It is not easy to wake up and hatch a 6th grade monster. Lu Xuan took out a spirit gathering grass bead, and with a thought, the green bead turned into a wisp of rich plant spirit energy, which poured into the danshan and rapidly replenished the greenwood source energy. But if it were simple, then I wouldn't have been able to get this embryo at such a small price. It's difficult to give birth, but I have plenty of spiritual grass beads in my hand. Let's see how much King Mu Yuan Ki you can swallow. He sighed in his heart. After returning to the cave, he immediately resumed his previous life as a spiritual plant master, cultivating spiritual plants, and raising spiritual beasts every day, and playing with the new thunder dragon and tree lady in the cave. His life was simple and fulfilling. During this period, he also went to the star picking tower. In addition to completing the spiritual plant related matters assigned by the Chamber of Commerce, he also bought a lot of cultivation resources from various shops and stores of casual cultivators. Although a large number of treasures can be opened in the light group, the lowest grade of spiritual plants in the spiritual field is currently the 2nd grade, and the variety is even rarer than the 6th grade spiritual plants. Some commonly used cultivation materials must be purchased outside. Back in the cave, he took out a lot of processed spiritual medicines and spiritual liquids specially used for brewing spiritual wine. He planned to start brewing the 5th grade 8 demon wine. Although he only absorbed one light ball experience pack, fortunately, he had the experience of brewing 4 grade spiritual liquids such as 100 fruit spirit juice and jade washing spirit dew many times, so Lu Xuan still had a lot of confidence in brewing spiritual wine. He processed the various materials collected according to the content of the 8 demon wine recipe, mixed them together by special means, added mellow spiritual liquid, and finally added the extremely well preserved heart monkey fruit. The spiritual consciousness controlled the many materials inside and cleverly merged them with the heart monkey fruit. The flesh of the spiritual fruit separated, and a golden monkey phantom quietly appeared, swimming around in a white jade jar prepared by Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan carved many dense runes on the surface of the jar and carefully sealed the opening of the jar. I don't know what the 5th grade spiritual wine tastes like. I haven't been to many secret realms, but I have made several kinds of spiritual brews. Farming life is really too leisurely. He felt the slight intoxication in the house, and his spiritual consciousness sensed the slowly swimming golden monkey phantom in the white jade jar, and he couldn't help but sigh. As soon as he arrived in the yard, he saw the young thunder dragon lying obediently in the middle of the yard, and the fat bad was pacing around. When he saw Lu Xuan coming out, he raised his pointed head. The cloud-stepping lynx came out from nowhere, staring at Lu Xuan indifferently with his green eyes, growled, and turned into a black light, and appeared on the roof. 2 tufts of grey and white hair on the top of his head formed a heart pattern. Since Lu Xuan pulled the 2 tufts of hair into this shape more than once, although the lynx resisted at first, it became like this unknowingly. I'm in a good mood today, let's have a big team building for the spirit beasts in the cave. Lu Xuan laughed, took out various spirit fruits, spirit wines, and the delicious monster meat bought from the Zigzing Tower, and personally cooked to entertain the spirit beasts. After a while, the yard was crowded with all kinds of spirit beasts flying in the sky, running on the ground, and swimming in the water. Gathered in the yard, feasting. Of course, there are also grass puppets, medicine beasts and other creatures that don't eat much monster meat. Lu Xuan has his own way to deal with them. For the grass puppets, He specially made a large fruit plate with a variety of spiritual fruits, as well as jade wash spiritual dew and spiritual juice, and used King Mu Yuan Qi to blend it into it, so that the spiritual juice would emit light green bubbles. As for the medicine beast, he took out the billing King Yuan pill and let it try the joy of absorbing the poison of the big pill. Hey, these are not for you to eat. The green abscess on the back of the 100 poison heartworm emitted wisps of poisonous smoke, and also came to join in the fun. Lu Xuan carried it with his spiritual power, and came into the house. Try this, it should be a new type of toxin. He took out a pill with two colors of green and dark black mixed together from the storage bag, and threw it to the 100 poison heartworm. This poisonous insect loves poison like life, and is extremely sensitive to all kinds of toxins and poisons. If you are not careful, it will easily put itself on the verge of life and death, but it especially likes new poisons. If it weren't for Lu Xuan's ability to master the special abilities of his spirit beasts and accurately detoxify, the 100 poison heart devouring worm would have died countless times. The poison pill in his hand came from the storage bag of the meat mountain monk. The species is unknown, and the grade is 4th grade. It is also a great tonic for the 100 poison heart devouring worm. As expected, when the poison insect saw the poison pill for the first time, the poisonous smoke from the bumps on its back became more intense, and excitement appeared in its mung bean-sized eyes. It swallowed the poison pill thrown by Lu Xuan into its stomach in one gulp. Lu Xuan stood aside and waited patiently. In less than half a minute, the poison insect showed an abnormal reaction. Many green blisters grew on its body. The blisters quickly grew to the size of eggs, and seemed to reach their limit. They burst silently, and gurgling dark pus flowed out of them, smelling fishy and unpleasant. Lu Xuan focused his mind on it, and immediately understood the specific situation of the 100 poison heart devouring worm. He was not in a hurry. He first cleaned the dark pus in the poisonous insect's body, and then transformed his spiritual consciousness into sharp thorns, bursting all the green blisters in an instant. The greenwood source energy was poured into the poisonous insect's body, causing its vitality to rise rapidly. After the 100 poison heart-eating worm returned to normal, Lu Xuan was about to leave, when he suddenly realized that something was wrong with the poisonous insect in front of him. The green bumps on its back kept expanding and contracting, and its breath kept rising. Is it going to be promoted to a 4th grade demon insect? As Lu Xuan sighed, the 100 poison heart-eating worm suddenly doubled in size, and colorful patterns appeared on its body surface. The bumps on its back turned into green copper coins, and it could sense that there was a strong poisonous smoke inside. It's really a 4th grade. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on the poisonous insect, and he immediately got detailed information about it. 100 poison heart-eating worm, 4th grade demon insect, complete form. The information flashed in his mind, and Lu Xuan's sight was attracted by the white light ball that emerged. The light ball floated above the 100 poison heart-eating worm, flickering slightly. He reached out and gently touched the surface of the light ball, which shattered silently, and turned into tiny light dots all over the sky, that poured into Lu Xuan's body. A thought flashed through his mind. The 100 poison heart-eating bug was promoted to the 4th rank, and the 6th rank treasure, the Poison Sutra Part 1, was obtained. Chapter 686 Fengming. The thought disappeared, and a strange ancient book appeared in Lu Xuan's hand. The cover of the ancient book was colorful, and it seemed to be tanned by some insect skin. The part that touched Lu Xuan's skin felt slippery. Various bright colors were mixed together and kept swimming. Looking at it carefully, there was a dizzy and uncomfortable feeling. Focusing on it, he immediately learned the detailed information about the ancient book. The Evil Poison Sutra, a 6th grade treasure, was written and refined by Yuan Yingzhenjin, who was good at using poison in the Niang sect. The Poison Sutra records the detailed information of tens of millions of poisons, detoxification methods, several poison-related secret techniques, and the refining method of a highly poisonous magic weapon. There is a growing trend of taking unorthodox and even evil ways, which conflicts with my personality as a kind-hearted spiritual plant master. Lu Xuan sighed and opened the colorful ancient book. With a quick glance, you can see that the ancient book records many detailed information about poisonous insects, poisonous beasts, poisonous gases, etc., and there is a corresponding method to crack each poison under it. It's a pity that there is only the first part, and there is no secret technique of controlling poison and the method of refining magic weapons mentioned in the information. However, it can enrich my experience and even help me cultivate poisonous spiritual plants in the future. In addition, it can also be used as a recipe for the 100 poison heart-eating worm. The detoxification method in it can save me a lot of effort. Lu Xuan looked at the 100 poison heart-eating worm under his feet, which had changed a lot, and thought secretly, the second part of the evil poison sutra may require this poisonous worm to break through the 5th grade to obtain it. The 100 poison heart-eating worm itself is of the 4th grade, and it is not easy to grow smoothly to a complete form. If it wants to break through its own limit and become a 5th grade poisonous worm, it must be fed with a large amount of 4th grade or even 5th grade poisons. Take it slow. Anyway, there is not much else in the cave, and there are still enough treasures. Lu Xuan thought to himself, letting the 100 poison heart-eating worm return to the yard. After staying in the cave for nearly half a month, Xuan Zhe came to visit. Dao Al Xuan, welcome. Lu Xuan sensed the familiar breath outside the cave and immediately welcomed the young man into the cave. Among the giant and cultivators in Lihuo Star Cave, he had a good relationship with this person. The two had returned from the Blackwater Star Cave together and went to the Kingmu Star Cave together. I was craving for wine, and I wanted to use the spiritual wine in your hand to satisfy my craving. I also brought a monster to go with the wine. The young man put the meat of a 4th grade monster on the ground and said to Lu Xuan with a smile, "You don't have to be so polite. If you think the spiritual wine is good, just come over." Lu Xuan immediately offered the spiritual fruit and spiritual wine and went to prepare the monster meat. The two sat in the courtyard on the mountainside, looking at the thunder in the distance, drinking and talking happily. To be honest, sometimes I really envy your life, brother Lu, staying in the cave every day doing what you like, without having to practice hard for years and months, and without having to take risks, to seek opportunities in the secret realm. Xuan Zhe put down the bronze wine glass in his hand, and sighed with a melancholy tone. Each has its pros and cons. It's just your own choice. I have average talent. I'm satisfied to be able to cultivate to the stage of forming a pill. In addition, I'm cautious by nature, so I choose to stay in the cave, grow some flowers and plants, and seek a peaceful life. Although it is safer than going out to explore the secret realm, it basically eliminates the possibility of going up one step. I will definitely not be like Daoist Xuan, fighting for opportunities and finding treasures in the secret realm. Lu Xuan said calmly, I can only harvest from the spiritual plant light group. He added secretly in his heart. Speaking of which, Daoist Lu will stay in the cave for a long time. You must take good protective measures for the cave to prevent evil cultivators from invading the cave and harming Daoist's property or even life. Xuan Zhe said solemnly. Thank you Daoist Xuan for reminding me. I have made full preparations for this. It is difficult for cultivators of the same level to enter my cave silently. Lu Xuan said confidently. That's my overthinking. It's true that things haven't been peaceful in Xiangxing Cave recently. I wonder if fellow Daoist Lu still remembers fellow Daoist Huang Yandang in Qingmuxing Cave? The young man said mysteriously. I have some impression of him. We met once in Qingmuxing Cave. How about that? Lu Xuan replied calmly, with a hint of curiosity in his eyes. Fellow Daoist Huang's cave was invaded by criminals and everything inside was looted. As for fellow Daoist Xuan, his whereabouts are unknown, and his life or death is unknown. How could such a thing happen? Lu Xuan stood up in surprise. Is it possible that fellow Daoist Xuan left Qingmuxing Cave for something and went somewhere else? He pondered for a moment, sat down and said, the possibility is extremely low. There are traces of intrusion on the protective formation outside the cave, and it can be seen that there was a fight inside. Just from the traces at the scene, the battle was not very fierce. It should be a one-sided situation. Hiss, the strength of the cultivator behind the murder of fellow Daoist Huang is a bit terrifying. Lu Xuan took a breath of cold air, and his acting skills exploded, with an expression of being completely out of the matter. Yes, according to the Jinden Zenran who entered fellow Daoist Huang's cave, he may have reached the middle stage of Jinden. Lu Xuan nodded thoughtfully. Is it possible that it is related to the previous robbery cultivators? I remember that many cultivators died at their hands. It is possible, but the ones who died at that time were basically foundation building cultivators. It is a bit unbelievable that a giant and cultivator could die silently. The young man thought that his strength was comparable to that of the skinny old man. Thinking of the possible fate of the other party, he looked sympathetic. Life is difficult. If you stay in the cave, well, you may be spotted by some bad guy. Lu Xuan's words were double-edged. That's right, but fellow Daoist Lu, don't worry. The inspector of Xiangxing Cave will naturally not let the early giant and cultivator die silently, and of course they will not suspect you and me. Xuan Zhe said self-deprecatingly. Lu Xuan nodded in agreement. He had the treasure of Kinkyu feather clothes on him, so he was not worried that someone would deduce the secrets of heaven and find him. Moreover, although a casual cultivator in the early stage of Jiandan was unknown, whether he was alive or dead, he was not qualified to let Yuan Yingzhen use his deduction magic to search for the cultivator behind the scenes. However, Xuan Yuan's visit this time also reminded me that the few Chimu trees I brought from Huangaiandang must be hidden well. Chimu feeds on flesh and blood. Huangaiandang is unlikely to let other cultivators know of their existence, but we must be careful, just in case. There were powerful formations and restrictions in the cave. As long as he kept a low profile, it would be difficult for others to know the existence of Chimu. The two skipped this issue and continued to discuss the latest major events in the cultivation world and their cultivation experience. After eating and drinking, Xuan Yuan said goodbye to Lu Xuan. Fellow Daoist Xuan Yuan, welcome again, Lu Xuan said with a smile. Haha, fellow Daoist Lu is straightforward. See you next time. Xuan Yuan laughed loudly and disappeared into the sky as a stream of light. Lu Xuan returned to the cave and checked every spiritual plant in the spiritual field. When he was watering it with spiritual rain, suddenly, a clear and crisp phoenix cry came from the cave. The sound was passionate and clear, reaching the depths of his soul. Chapter 687, 7th Grade Treasure, Glazed Red Phoenix Bone. The moment he heard the clear sound of the phoenix, Lu Xuan thought of a possibility, and a strong joy appeared on his face. His figure turned into a stream of light, and came to the core spiritual field area, where many high-level spiritual plants were planted. As soon as he entered, he felt a wave of scorching air filling the surrounding space. Looking up, he saw a pair of golden phoenix phantoms dancing in the air. Their bodies were agile, their tails swept past, and wisps of light golden flames flashed by. Below the phoenix phantom, the originally charred and inconspicuous phoenix tree had also changed a lot. The charred branches were faintly falling off, revealing the dark golden lines inside. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on the charred wood, and he immediately noticed that the progress bar below was only a hair's breadth away from being full. I'll give you a hand, he thought, and a red jade bead flew out of the storage bag. It was the 5th grade treasure Yuanyang True Fire bead that opened from the red flame good spiritual plant, which sealed a wisp of overbearing Yuanyang True Fire. The golden red flames broke through the beads and rolled towards the two phoenix phantoms in the air. The phoenix phantoms were full of spirituality. The moment they saw the Yuanyang True Fire, their movements were obviously lighter and more cheerful, and they all dived into the golden red flames. The fire spread rapidly, and soon formed a sea of fire that burned wantonly. The phoenix phantoms occasionally swept out of the sea of fire, setting off flames all over the sky. The chirping sound became more and more high-pitched and exciting, resounding throughout the cave. Then, the golden wings flapped hard in the sea of fire, and the golden red flames immediately flowed into the phantom's body. The phantom became more and more solid, as if a pair of real phoenix beasts had descended into the cave. When the flames were completely absorbed, the phoenix phantom suddenly rose and rushed directly into the charred wood. A crackling sound was heard. The charred part of the wood surface peeled off inch by inch, revealing the dark golden spiritual wood inside. The spiritual wood was radiant and colorful, with dense dark gold lines on its surface. The lines were undulating and constantly moving. At first glance, one might have thought that a phoenix was living inside. Since I got this 6th grade phoenix tree, I have cultivated it for more than 30 years. During this period, I cultivated countless 3rd grade red lotus flames. Even when it matured, I used this 5th grade Yuan True Fire bead to nourish it. Lu Xuan looked at the red jade bead in his hand, which only had a small part of the Yuan True Fire left, and sighed. He carefully took off the dark gold wood and concentrated his mind on it. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. Phoenix tree, a 6th grade spiritual plant, is cultivated and nourished with 3rd grade or higher strange fire. It is said that the phoenix tree is the habitat of the ancient true spirit phoenix. There is a trace of phoenix essence and spirituality left in it, which is very beneficial to the growth of fire-type monsters, especially monster birds. After maturity, it can be used to refine fire-type magic weapons. 6th grade spiritual plant. It can be used to refine magic weapons. Lu Xuan was overjoyed. This phoenix tree is the first 6th grade spiritual plant he has successfully cultivated so far. Although there are already many 6th grade and even 7th grade Yemikingla vines in the cave, this is the first time after all, which is of great significance, and he is naturally in a very happy mood. There is only one fire type monster in the cave, so it would be a bit of a waste to spend money on it. It is better to find a suitable opportunity to refine a fire type magic weapon. Lu Xuan thought to himself, putting the phoenix tree into the gluttonous insect bag, and his sight was completely attracted by the white light ball that quietly emerged below. He held his breath and reached out to gently touch the surface of the light ball. The moment he touched it, the white light ball shattered silently and turned into tiny light spots all over the sky. The light spots gathered and dispersed invisibly, and soon condensed into a pure white phoenix phantom, with a crisp cry, rushing into Lu Xuan's body like lightning. Then, a thought flashed through his mind. Harvest a 6th grade spiritual plant phoenix tree, and obtain the 7th grade treasure glazed red phoenix bone. The thought disappeared, and a piece of dark gold skeleton appeared in front of Lu Xuan. The skeleton is less than a foot long, dark gold in color, with phoenix patterns on the surface, and a faint flame shadow burning silently around it. When you get close to the skeleton, you can faintly hear the sound of a phoenix. 7th grade treasure. Lu Xuan's heart was filled with endless joy. It took him a long time to calm down. He took a deep breath and focused his attention on the dark gold skeleton in front of him. In an instant, he learned the detailed information of the skeleton. The glazed red phoenix bone, a 7th grade treasure, is a branch of the ancient true spirit monster phoenix clan. It is a skeleton left behind after the death of the red phoenix. It contains a trace of the original breath of the red phoenix. It can be integrated into the body, and the bones of the body can be strengthened to the level of low-level magic weapons. After integration, it can improve the root bones of the body to a certain extent, greatly improve the affinity for fire spirit objects, magic tools, etc., and make rapid progress in practicing fire-related skills and magical powers. It can have varying degrees of deterrence on hundreds of birds. After complete sacrifice, it is possible to derive a thin red phoenix bloodline in the body. You can also refine the glazed red phoenix bone into a corresponding mid-level magic weapon, which is amazingly powerful and has a certain probability of summoning the red phoenix Dharma image. Is this a 7th grade treasure? Lu Xuan was a little speechless for a moment. The effect of the dark gold skeleton in front of him was far beyond his imagination. No wonder, a 7th grade treasure is already at the level of nascent soul. With my current strength in the early stage of Jinden, even with the cultivation bonus provided by the light ball, I don't know how many years it will take to break through to that level. The rarity of the glazed red phoenix bone can be seen. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. A 6th grade spiritual plant can cross a major realm to get a 7th grade treasure. The main reason is that the phoenix tree itself is rare and has a high grade. It also has a lot to do with the fact that I started cultivating it in the early stage of foundation building. He concluded in a low voice and then fell into deep thought. This piece of glazed red phoenix bone has two uses, either to integrate it into the body or to sacrifice it into a magic weapon. Each one has great benefits for him, and Lu Xuan must make a choice. He didn't think for long before making a decision to integrate the glazed red phoenix bone into his body. He currently had a large number of 5th and 6th grade treasures in his hands, and there was no shortage of magic weapon prototypes. Although the 7th grade glazed red phoenix bone could be refined into a mid-level magic weapon, he himself was not good at refining. If he entrusted it to someone else, it would be like a child holding gold at his current level of cultivation. If it was integrated into the body, it could improve the root bones to a certain extent, which was very attractive to Xuan, who had average talent. Moreover, it could slowly improve his own bones to the level of magic weapons. In addition, it could be used to subdue hundreds of birds, which was just right for Xuan, who often dealt with monsters and birds. As for whether it might breed the blood of the red phoenix, after it was fully integrated, Xuan didn't have any expectations and let it go. It would take a long time to completely integrate the 7th grade treasure. After integrating this glazed red phoenix bone, I will become a rare fire control genius in a century. Xuan remembered the scene of his rapid progress in the sword, after swallowing the transparent sword heart. This moment is just like that moment. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 688, Minors are not allowed to enter. Do it as soon as you think of it. Xuan asked the grass puppet to take good care of the spiritual field and entered a quiet room. He adjusted his own states to the best and took out the dark gold skeleton. A wisp of white gold flame slowly floated out of his body, constantly baking the glazed red phoenix bone in front of him. A few days later, under the combined effect of Xuan's spiritual consciousness and the pure yang true fire, the glazed red phoenix bone softened slightly, like a pool of dark gold liquid, gradually seeping into Xuan's body. In the inner vision, the dark gold liquid silently merged into Xuan's bones, making his bones have countless dark gold spots. The light spots flickered slightly and were slowly absorbed into the bones. As more and more dark gold spots were integrated, Xuan felt a scorching breath surging from his body. He couldn't help but take a deep breath, and the red heat wave rolled out. It can be regarded as the initial integration of the glazed red phoenix bone into my own bones, but if I want to completely integrate it, it will take a long time. Xuan got up and came to the spiritual field. In the following 2 months, after completing the task of cultivating spiritual plants and raising spiritual beasts, he focused on fusing the glazed red phoenix bone. On this day, after the fusion was completed, Xuan felt the bones in his body becoming harder and slightly red. With a thought, the pure yang true fire gushed out from his fingertips. The platinum flame covered his fingertips and constantly changed into various forms. The flame of the dead object had a faint sense of agility. This was naturally the effect of the glazed red phoenix bone. After the initial integration into his body, Xuan could clearly feel that his control of the pure yang true fire had reached a new level. After obtaining the pure yang true fire scroll, he practiced hard for many years, and then after swallowing the pure glazed tea leaves, his own understanding was greatly improved, so that he could comprehend and visualize the pure yang true fire. Now, after integrating the 7th grade glazed red phoenix bone, his talent in the magical power of fire related skills has been greatly enhanced, and he has become more and more free and agile when controlling the pure yang true fire, and he can send and receive it as he pleases. When he was still in the key training stage, he obtained a flame tactics from the light ball, which can control the flame more exquisitely. However, in terms of the control of the flame, it was only the most superficial form, and now there was a faint feeling of meaning. All of this came from the magic of the 7th grade glazed red phoenix bone. After fusing this rare treasure, Xuan came to the spiritual field and resumed his identity as an ordinary spiritual plant master. He worked tirelessly to cultivate every spiritual plant regardless of the grade. In the spiritual field, the size of the 6 little tree girls did not change much, but they did not look as tender and immature as at the beginning. One of the tree girls quietly landed on the grass puppet. The grass puppet itself was made of special plants and woods. After swallowing many spiritual grass beads, the body contained rich plant spirits, which was very attractive to the tree girls. What the elf didn't understand was why this weird looking puppet uncle was wandering around the spiritual field all day. And the route of the stroll was the same, over and over again, so that it, who was staying on the puppet's huge head, remembered it clearly. It's more fun to play with another weird uncle. The grass puppet remained silent, and its movements were mechanical and monotonous, which made the innocent and lively tree girl feel bored. She flapped her light green wings as thin as cicada wings, and flew to the demon ghost vine. Strictly speaking, the demon ghost vine is also a kind of plant monster, but it has evolved from the main body of the spiritual plant. But for the tree girl, it also has a strong affinity. The little tree girl gently landed on the gray-white vine. A small tentacle-like branch emerged from one end of the vine. She took a look and then swam into the area of the netherworld spiritual field like a giant snake. You watch outside. I want to move my body. The demon ghost vine stretched out a tentacle, placed the little tree girl on the edge of the netherworld spiritual field, and tapped its forehead, indicating that it should stay where it was. Then it came to the evil tree demon, and raised one end of the vine provocatively. The gunpowder barrel between the two sides was ignited at once, and they immediately fell into a fierce battle. Countless blue-black branches stabbed at the demon vine at a high speed like long spears. The demon vine was not afraid and easily took on the violent storm-like attack. Wow. This scene was seen by the little tree lady not far away. She showed admiration in her innocent eyes and kept praising. Seeing this, the demon vine instantly increased several times and easily tied up the branches of the evil tree demon, unable to break free. The fuzzy facial features on the trunk of the evil tree demon made various ferocious expressions, forming a sharp contrast with the angel-like little tree lady next to it. The battle ended, and the demon vine easily withdrew. The little tree lady landed on the vine, with pale blue wings wrapped around her young body, and her emerald-like little arms clasped together, her eyes full of admiration. The demon vine couldn't stand such eyes, so she decided to take the little tree lady to see the world again. There is a good place. I'll take you there. There is a rich atmosphere that can make all living things forget their troubles and enjoy happiness. I guarantee that you little things will like it. The two plant spirits communicated in a unique way. Okay. The little tree lady nodded hurriedly and had absolute trust in this fellow monster uncle. The demon ghost vine straightened its vines and rushed towards the direction of the fairy peach forest. What a sweet smell. From a distance, the little tree lady felt the intoxicating fragrance coming from the fairy peach forest in the corner of the cave and whispered with emotion. Just as they were about to enter the pink miasma, Xuan fell from the sky and grabbed the little tree lady's body. Underage spirits are not allowed to enter. Ignoring the slight struggle of the tree lady in his hand, Xuan lowered his head and kicked the demon ghost vine hard. Who told you to bring the tree girl to such a place? You, a perverted vine, come here to have fun by yourself, and you want to corrupt my little tree girl? Xuan thought of the possible consequences of the innocent little tree girl entering the fairy peach forest, and he became more and more angry and stepped on the demon ghost vine. He lifted the little tree girl with his spiritual power and sent it to the pure glass tea spiritual plant. Then, he lifted the demon ghost vine. Come on, I'll go in with you to take a look. It has been nearly 3 years since the last harvest of fairy peaches. A new batch of spiritual peaches is about to mature, and then a large number of abnormal light balls will be harvested. After a while, Xuan emerged from the pink miasma with a normal look, thought for a while, and cast a purification spell on himself again. As more and more fallen leaves accumulate in this peach forest, the miasma becomes thicker and thicker, and the charm becomes stronger and stronger, making me, a giant and cultivator, almost lose my mind. Xuan shook his head. He picked more than 10 mix and peach fruits in it, and found some unorthodox treasures such as the 4th grade Miayu pill, the pill formula experience package, and the Blizzard Sutra from the white ones, and reaped a lot of rewards. This is the 3rd time that mix and peach has borne fruit. The number of spiritual fruits seems to be a little less than before. It seems that the spiritual peaches will slowly decrease as time goes by. Due to the limited vitality of spiritual plants, it is difficult to achieve unlimited fruit bearing in the true sense. Xuan sighed secretly. Chapter 689, Mysterious Armor. Another month passed in the blink of an eye. Xuan was refining the glazed red phoenix bone in his body step by step. As time passed, he became more and more aware of the gradual hardening of his bones. On this day, he came to the back mountain of the cave. There was a deep green pool in the back mountain, and the surface of the water was filled with spiritual energy. The ice radish fruit that was filled with cold air was planted on the edge of the pool, and not far away there were water-loving spiritual plants such as ice firefly grass and snow barrier ice jade lotus. When he first moved to the cave, the area of the pool was not very large. Xuan expanded it from time to time in the past few years. Now the largest diameter of the pool is nearly 100 feet. When he was checking the status of the spiritual plants in the spiritual field next to the pool, a splash sounded, and the Lihojio drilled out from the bottom of the water, and its several foot long body flew around Xuan. Xuan threw him a freshly picked fairy peach. Just as he was about to continue inspecting the spiritual plants, a rock-shelled turtle, which was covered in mud and had a shell like a dark blue hill on its back, also emerged from the water, carrying mud and water, and crawling towards Xuan at a speed that did not match its body shape. In a corner of the pond, a dragon carp also popped out a small part of its head, looking at Xuan's direction with expectation. The two companions in the pond, Lihojio's natural bloodline was suppressed, and the rock-shelled turtle was too naughty. The dragon carp, who was bullied invisibly, had to live in a corner and shrink in the nest he dug every day. All of them. Xuan took out some spiritual fruits and a large bottle of beast spiritual pills, and divided them evenly. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly stopped and looked at the rock-shelled turtle in the pond, and exclaimed softly, "Is it going to be promoted to a 4th grade demon beast?" In the spiritual sense, the aura in the rock-shelled turtle's body suddenly rose, and the shell on its back, which was like a dark blue rock, became more and more solid. This rock-shelled turtle was obtained by him in a remote sea area when he completed the sect's garrison mission. He has been cultivating it for many years. After feeding it with many spiritual fruits and elixirs, and nourishing it with the pure and rich spiritual energy in the cave for many years, it was finally promoted to the 4th grade. There is no substantial leap for a 3rd grade monster to be promoted to the 4th grade. It is not difficult for the rock-shelled turtle, which has accumulated for many years, and has Xuan as a guardian. A small spiritual energy vortex appeared around the rock-shelled turtle. The rock-shelled turtle swallowed and exhaled spiritual energy frantically. After a moment, all the spiritual energy instantly poured into its body. The blue-black giant turtle roared, his voice full of joy. "Congratulations, little guy." Xuan looked at the rock-shelled turtle, which had grown by half its size, and became more ferocious and fierce, and passed on a thought. The rock-shelled turtle is a 4th grade monster with extremely strong defense. It is among the top monsters of the same level. It likes to collect sand and stones containing spiritual energy and attach them to its shell to temper the shell and enhance its defense. A thought flashed through his mind, and Xuan's sight was attracted by a white light ball that quietly emerged on the surface of the pool. The ball of light was looming in the mist, flickering slightly. Xuan passed by, and the ball of light exploded silently, forming tiny light spots all over the water surface, and then turned into a phantom of armor, and poured into Xuan's body. At the same time, a thought flashed through his mind. The monster rock armored turtle was promoted to the 4th rank, and the 5th rank magic weapon Xuan Gang armor was obtained. The thought disappeared, and a silver white soft armor appeared in Xuan's hand. There were many runes engraved on the soft armor, and the runes were connected to form a series of restrictions. It was unclear what material it was made of. Holding it in the hand, it could be felt that the texture was not hard. Xuan pulled it slightly, but it was not damaged at all. With his current physical strength, his defensive ability can be seen. His mind was concentrated on the silver white soft armor. Xuan Gang armor, a 5th rank treasure, is made of 1000-year-old ice silkworm silk and a variety of spiritual minerals and spiritual objects. It has strong defensive power. When it is hit violently, it can form a layer of Ganki on the surface to rebound the attack. A 5th grade magic weapon, a defensive one, not bad. Xuan smiled. The rock armored turtle, originally a 3rd grade one, broke through to the 4th grade one, and was able to obtain a 5th grade reward, which was already quite good. It was probably also related to the fact that the rewards of the demon beast light group were generally more generous. After all, for spiritual plants and demon beasts of the same grade, it takes a lot more time, energy, and resources to raise a spiritual beast than spiritual plants. However, although the Xuan Gang armor is a 5th grade one, it is not very useful to me at the moment. With the 6th grade Taesui meat, the 7th grade Liuli Kaifeng bone that was being fused, as well as the previous bodybuilding exercises, and the many spiritual fruits that he swallowed to strengthen his body, his physical strength was no longer inferior to that of ordinary 5th grade defensive treasures, and the Xuan gang armor had limited improvement for him. In addition, he was already wearing a 5th grade King Feni feather cloth. Compared with the two, the King Feni feather cloth could resist the attacks of the soul, and at the same time conceal the aura, and isolate the divination and detection, which was particularly suitable for Lu Xuan, who was bent on surviving. I'll find a chance to exchange the spirit seeds, or throw them into a grocery store after a while. Lu Xuan put the silver white soft armor into the storage bag, thinking secretly in his heart. Crossing the pool, and over the cliff, he heard the continuous clanging of swords. Lu Xuan looked up, and saw more than 20 vines clinging to the jagged boulders, and 70 or 80 green and mottled goods swaying gently in the wind. As they swayed, the sword energy in the goods vibrated endlessly, as if they would shoot out at any time. I can harvest a lot of sword talismans again. Lu Xuan smiled, and carefully picked up the sword raising goods one by one. Although the sword raising goods were only of the 3rd grade, they were extremely scarce in the grocery store, and could be sold for a lot of spirit stones. In the end, he left 6 good vines for seeding, and picked all the others. Soon, the vines were hung with slightly flickering white light balls, and a quick glance showed that there were nearly 80 of them. Big harvest, big harvest. Lu Xuan's figure passed by like a stream of light, and more than 80 light balls shattered silently at almost the same time, turning into a series of talisman phantoms, which poured into Lu Xuan's body one after another. Harvested a 3rd grade sword raising good and a 4th grade Great Sun sword talisman. Harvested a 3rd grade sword raising good and a 4th grade Roaring Sea sword talisman. Harvested. Thoughts flashed through his mind like a horse-drawn sightseeing lantern, and a series of 4th grade talismans with sword energy appeared in front of Lu Xuan. The sword energy was like the surging waves, continuous, or like the sun hanging high, scattering in all directions, or like a meteor passing by, unstoppable. If more than 80 4th grade sword talismans are used together, I don't know if they can directly kill a cultivator in the early stage of Jinden. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. It's a pity that there is no other place like the sword pool in the Xianjian sect. Otherwise, I could try to improve the sword raising good spirit. Lu Xuan was quite fond of the sword raising good, and the 4th grade sword talisman from the light ball was also very useful, so he had the idea of improving this 3rd grade spiritual plant. Unfortunately, there was no other place like the sword pool of the Xianjian sect in the cave, and there was no clue to improve it. Maybe I could put the sword raising good spirit seed in the Yangtze sword sheath, and then use the 2 5th grade sword techniques to stimulate and nourish it. He suddenly thought. Chapter 690 Wu Zhengmu. He had always kept the Yangtze sword sheath in the yard, and from time to time he would insert various flying swords into it to nourish the sword body. Although he no longer had the thickest peacocking sword, he still had a sword formation with multiple swords, the wind and thunder sword with special lightning properties, etc. Therefore, Yangtze sword sheath still lived a very comfortable life, and was obsessed with the flying sword harem. Occasionally, Lu Xuan would also insert ordinary sword grass spirit seeds, to improve them to obtain higher grade spirit seeds. However, although he had such an idea, he had to wait until the Yangjian good was condensed to put it into practice, and Lu Xuan was not in a hurry. The days of cultivating spirit plants passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, another spirit plant matured in the spirit field. Lu Xuan stood next to the spirit field, where the ice firefly grass was planted. The azure blue slender spirit grass covered the entire spirit field, and the cold air was pervasive, and a thin layer of frost condensed on the surface of the spirit soil. Of the 36 ice firefly grasses, 10 were planted relatively late, but with Lu Xuan's frequent injection of greenwood source energy, they slowly caught up with the growth progress of the rest of the ice firefly grasses. Among them, the progress bars under 4 ice fireflies were fully drawn. Finally, I can increase my cultivation. Lu Xuan was delighted, and carefully picked 4 ice fireflies. Among them, 3 were of ordinary quality and 1 was of good quality. He put the ice fireflies into an exquisite jade box, and then his eyes fell on the 4 light balls that quietly emerged. With a light touch, 4 thin and long rivers of light formed by the condensation of tiny light points flowed into his body. Harvest 1/3 grade ice firefly grass, and 5 years of cultivation. Harvest 4 light balls, 3 of which brought cultivation rewards, adding 20 years of cultivation to Lu Xuan in one fell swoop, and the other opened a 4th grade ice soul pill treasure. After the thought flashed through his mind, a large amount of spiritual power appeared out of thin air in his body, surging in his limbs and bones. Lu Xuan practiced the Xuan Shan King Wei Mao Fa and quickly transformed these spiritual powers into drops of spiritual liquid, which entered his danshan. The feeling of increasing cultivation is really wonderful. Lu Xuan stretched his waist and raised the corners of his mouth. He calmed down and then inspected the spiritual field to check the detailed status of each spiritual plant. It's time to go to the star picking tower. This time, I'll ask the owner of the branch building to see if there are any spiritual trees suitable for refining magic tools. If there are, I'll bring some back to the cave. Lu Xuan thought secretly. He decided to try to learn to refine tools, but his talent was limited, so he could only start with the light ball rewards. With his experience in cultivating countless spiritual plants, it is very likely that the light ball will produce treasures related to refining tools. After cultivating spiritual trees suitable for refining magic tools, which can greatly improve his refining skills. As a spiritual plant master, how can I do it if I don't understand refining tools? In terms of alchemy, due to the existence of the light ball experience package, his refining level in many varieties of elixirs is extremely high, such as the soul enriching pill and the foundation building pill, which have reached the grandmaster level, and the 4th grade dust cleansing pill and the desire enchanting pill are also between the minor and major success levels. Anyway, the light ball is an unexpected harvest, and targeted planting may bring surprises. He thought secretly in his heart. A few days ago, the Halao Chamber of Commerce branch building sent a message talisman asking Lu Xuan to go over and handle and identify some rare spiritual plants. In addition, he needed to replenish some cultivation resources, so Lu Xuan decided to go out. After dealing with the Meat Mountain monk, he didn't have to be as cautious as before. He told the grass puppet and opened 2 5-grade formations and came to the Zigzag Tower. As soon as he stepped into the Halao Chamber of Commerce, the pretty maid waiting at the gate immediately saluted respectfully. "Senior Lu, you are here." There was a faint tremor in the maid's greeting. The cultivator in front of her was not only powerful in the Jiandan realm that she could not reach, but also had a respected status. He was a specially hired guest of the Halao Chamber of Commerce. A casual word could determine her future and even her life and death. She was afraid that she would displease him in any way. No need to be polite. Lu Xuan nodded gently and said gently. In the maid's relieved expression, he went upstairs alone. "Senior Lu." Not long after he sat down, the charming Wen building owner came into the room with a gust of fragrance. "You came just in time. I have something to ask you." Lu Xuan sat on a warm jade chair and asked the Wen female cultivator. "Senior, please tell me everything I know." The Wen female cultivator stood aside and said with her head down, "Is there any spiritual seed suitable for refining magic tools in the branch building after it matures?" "Only spiritual seeds or spiritual plant seedlings. The grade should be above the 4th grade, and the 5th grade is the best," Lu Xuan said lightly. There must be a lot of finished spiritual wood suitable for refining magic tools, but those are not very useful to him. He can't get the light ball reward, let alone get the treasures related to refining from it. If the grade is too low, with his current cultivation level, the rewards from the light ball will be lower in quality, and at least the level of the 4th grade spiritual plant. It is difficult to get a 5th grade treasure from the treasure reward when cultivating the 4th grade spiritual plant in the Jiandan realm. Of course, it is not ruled out that multiple light balls can be combined into 5th grade treasures. There have been more than one similar experience before. 4th grade and 5th grade spiritual wood suitable for refining magic tools. The female cultivator surnamed Wen's mind was working rapidly. Spiritual plants are more commonly used in alchemy, and there are fewer for refining tools. There are more spiritual mines and other treasures. Moreover, Lu Xuan limited the grade of spiritual plants to 4th grade and above, which narrowed the range of choices by more than half. 4th grade spiritual wood, I remember there is one. It's called Wuzheng Mu, which is extremely hard and suitable for refining flying swords and other magic tools. It usually grows near spiritual mines containing Zhengjin. As for the 5th grade, there are only 2 or 3 5th grade spiritual species in the branch building. If Senior Lu needs it, I can ask other branch buildings or their headquarters. The female cultivator surnamed Wen recalled for a moment and said to Lu Xuan in a gentle voice, "Then I'll trouble you, fellow Daoist Wen. It should be. It's my honor to do a little bit for you," the female cultivator said quickly. As a guest of the Chamber of Commerce, Lu Xuan was one realm higher than her. In recent years, he had demonstrated his unparalleled spiritual plant attainments. It could be said that he had a promising future in the Chamber of Commerce. She was very happy to leave a good impression. "By the way, Senior, have you heard about the news that has been widely circulated in the Zexing Tower recently? It is related to spiritual seeds. I guess Senior is interested." Before leaving, she hesitated and asked Lu Xuan, "Oh, tell me more about it. I have been staying in Lihuaxing Cave and have not been out of the news. I don't know much." Lu Xuan was curious when he heard this. There is a family in Liang realm that has been passed down for thousands of years. There was a Yuanying's engine. In recent years, it has declined and is not as good as before. The clan members want to sell a rare spiritual seed left by the ancestor of the clan in exchange for a treasure that can be used. It is said that the spiritual seed is likely to be of the 6th grade, and it is extremely rare. The female cultivator surnamed Wen whispered. Chapter 691 Mysterious Spirit Seed. 6th grade spiritual seeds. When Lu Xuan heard the female cultivator's words, his eyes lit up a bit. Although he cultivated a lot of spiritual plants of the 5th grade and above in his cave, each one was hard won, so he could better understand the rarity of the 6th grade spiritual seeds. Of course, he would not miss such a rare opportunity. "Please tell me the specific information of that family, fellow Daoist Wen," he said gently to the female cultivator surnamed Wen. The cultivator who is interested in selling the spiritual seeds of the clan is from the Qingyuan Bei family. It is a very large family with a radius of thousands of miles. It is said that it was established by Yuanying's engine and has been passed down for many years. However, after the lifespan of the ancestor of the clan was exhausted, the family gradually showed signs of decline. In this generation, there are only 2 giant cultivators, including the clan leader. Although the strength is still not to be underestimated, there is a huge gap compared to the most prosperous period. As the owner of the branch building of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce, the female cultivator naturally knows all the big and small forces in Liang, and told Lu Xuan in detail. The family is in decline. 2 giant cultivators? Lu Xuan looked calm on the surface, but a question mark appeared in his mind. He would never associate decline with giant cultivators. Thinking back to the time when he was in the key training stage in Linyang Market, the Wang family, which was in charge of the market and had several foundation building cultivators, was no different from a behemoth to him. He did not expect that a family with giant masters in Liang would be described as declining. "I'm somewhat interested in the spirit seeds in the hands of the Bei family. When the time is right, please ask fellow Daoist when to take me to have a look." "No problem, Senior." The female cultivator bowed her head. A few days passed in a blink of an eye. In addition to going out to purchase some cultivation materials and looking around the grocery store, Lu Xuan spent the rest of his time in the branch building, handling chores and practicing meditation. The female cultivator surnamed Wen took him to a quiet courtyard. "Senior Lu, this is Senior Bei Yushan, the head of the Bei family." "Head of the Bei family, this is Senior Lu Xuan Lu." Senior Lu is a guest of our Heilao Chamber of Commerce and is an expert in spiritual plants. As soon as they entered the courtyard, 2 giant cultivators came to greet them warmly. The leader was a clear-eyed old man who was in the early stage of giant cultivation and had abundant spiritual power. It seemed that he was not far from the middle stage of giant. Following behind him was a young man with sharp eyes who was also in the early stage of giant. "So it's fellow Daoist Lu, I'm sorry for not welcoming you from afar." When the old man heard the female cultivator introduce Lu Xuan as a guest of Heilao Chamber of Commerce, his smile became more enthusiastic. He took a few steps forward and bowed and said, "Hello, fellow Daoist Bay, you are too polite." Lu Xuan smiled and returned the greeting. The two exchanged a few pleasantries, and from the introduction of the clear-eyed old man, they learned that the young man was the old man's nephew, who was extremely talented and broke through to the Jiandan realm after practicing for more than 100 years. The female cultivator stayed in the courtyard, and another cultivator from the Bei family entertained them. Lu Xuan followed Bei Yushan and entered a spacious hall. In the hall, there were already 5 Jiandan cultivators, 2 in the middle Jiandan stage, and 3 in the early Jiandan stage. They all looked unfamiliar. The old man introduced them to each other. When they heard that Lu Xuan was a guest of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce, a trace of surprise flashed in the eyes of the 5 people, and they couldn't help but look at Lu Xuan twice more. After Lu Xuan, another early Jiandan cultivator entered the hall. The attraction of the 6th grade spirit seed is relatively small. If it is a 6th grade magic weapon or a 6th grade formation, there will be far more cultivators coming here. I'm afraid that the late Jiandan cultivators will all come here after hearing the news. Lu Xuan quietly tasted the spirit tea and thought to himself. The 6 people waited for a moment, and the old man walked to the middle and clasped his fists and said, "Thank you all for coming here in your busy schedule. I believe you all know the whole story. The Bei family has a 6th grade spirit seed, which is a treasure left to the family by the ancestor of the clan. Unfortunately, we have not known how to cultivate it for many years, and dare not try it rashly. If it has been kept in the family, I'm afraid that the spirit seed will lose its vitality, so I reluctantly give it up, and plan to exchange it for a suitable treasure. Since there are many children in the clan, the 5th grade skills or low level magical powers are given priority, followed by formations, magic tools and the like. Of course, if the value of the treasures is very different, then other things must be used to compensate for it," the clear-headed old man said in a deep voice. Although the Jiandan Zenran present had already known that the Bei family was in a period of decline, he would definitely not say it openly, but find a reason that sounded impeccable. After the old man finished speaking, he took out a magical spirit seed from the storage bag. The spirit seed was shrouded in a layer of black mist as thin as a veil, and there was a deep spiritual light flowing on the surface, full of mysterious atmosphere. It is indeed a 6th grade spiritual seed, but it is a species I have never seen before. Several Jiandan Zenran present briefly explored it, felt the rich vitality in the spiritual seed, and made a judgment. Of course it is not an ordinary 6th grade spiritual plant. Please keep the specific species a secret for now. I will tell you in detail after exchanging it with a Taoist friend, the clear-headed old man said slowly. Hearing his words, the curiosity in the hearts of several people increased a little. After a while, a Jiandan cultivator asked the price. "Fellow Daoist Bay, I have a rare bronze mirror treasure here. The grade is 5th. Called the Dazzling Mirror, which has many wonderful uses, and can be refined into a low-level magic weapon. I wonder if it can be exchanged for your spiritual seed." After this Jiandan Zenran broke the balance. People took out rare treasures one after another. Patriarch Bei, what do you think of this pair of starlight swords? They are a set of 5th grade magic tools, made of exotic stones from outer space. When used, they have a power far beyond that of ordinary 5th grade flying swords, and can greatly enhance the strength of fellow Taoists. 2 flying swords, one long and one short, shot out at lightning speed, the sword bodies shining with starlight, and there seemed to be a special star force attracting each other, always keeping a certain distance. Patriarch Bei. Various treasures appeared one after another, and a cultivator in the middle stage of Jiandan took out a 5th grade technique, which made the old man excited. "Uncle Yushan, why not choose the dazzling mirror or the starlight sword? With such exotic treasures, our strength can be greatly improved in a short time, and perhaps there is hope for the nascent soul." In the corner, the young cultivator of the Bei family sent a voice message to the old man. "Stupid." The clear-headed old man secretly glared at the young man. "The Bei family is lacking magical instruments now? There are treasures left by the ancestors. Even if you get those rare magical instruments, the improvement in strength is extremely limited. The family is now in a period of transition. Although there are many talented disciples, there are only a few who have the possibility of advancing to the Jiandan realm. If you and I are deemed, or an accident occurs, the entire Bay family will either be disbanded or swallowed up by other forces. Therefore, you cannot limit yourself to one person, but must consider how to find a way to continue the family. Although the quality of that 5th grade technique is ordinary, it can give many Bay family disciples more choices and more possibilities. Consider it for the time being. The old man transmitted the voice to the young man. Patriarch Bay, can you let me see the magic of the spirit seed? If you are satisfied, Lu has a good treasure in his hand. Suddenly, he heard the gentle voice of the guest of the Halao Chamber of Commerce. Chapter 692, Upside Down Fruit. Does Daoist Lu have a treasure better than the Starlight Mother and Child Sword and the 5th grade technique? The old man was very curious when he heard this. Among the treasures brought out by the giant and cultivators, the Starlight Mother and Child Sword and the 5th grade technique were the most appealing to him. However, for the sake of the family's future, he had to put the 5th grade technique first. It was obtained by chance and is suitable for Daoist Bay's family. If it is used properly, it may be able to add 1 or 2 giant and Zenran to the Bay family in the short term. Lu Xuan said in a voice transmission with a smile. This sentence immediately tickled the old man's itch. The reason why he took out the rare 6th grade spirit seeds left by the ancestors of the clan was to exchange for suitable treasures, to try to improve the vitality of the family and enable it to continue for a long time. If there really is a treasure like the one Lu Xuan said, which can add 1 or 2 giant and Zenran to the family in a short period of time, no, even if it is relaxed to hundreds or thousands of years, then it is also a priceless treasure for the Bay family. Dao Lu, you can take a look at the spirit seed first, as long as you don't leave this courtyard. He confidently sent the mysterious spirit seed shrouded in black mist to Lu Xuan. The courtyard was set up with a powerful formation, and the 2 giant and cultivators of the Bay family were here. Lu Xuan was also a spirit plant master, so he was not worried that the other party would forcibly take the spirit seed. Lu Xuan suppressed his excitement, took out a handful of spirit soil from his storage bag, as if no one was around, and put the dark spirit seed in it. I was itching to try which spirit soil is suitable for this spirit seed. In the puzzled eyes of everyone, Lu Xuan made up a reason casually, and his mind was focused on the dark spirit seed and the spirit soil. In an instant, a thought flashed through his mind. Dianine fruit, a 6th grade spirit plant, is suitable for growing in extremely yin spiritual energy and spirit soil, and is watered with yin spirit springs. After maturity, the spirit fruit can greatly enhance the spiritual power of giant and cultivators, and can help cultivators comprehend the corresponding yin and yang changes. It grows together with the inverted yang fruit, and they are inseparable. They can be cultivated separately or grow together. When they are planted together, they will produce the inverted yin and inverted yang fruit, which has the characteristics of both spiritual fruits, and has the effect of a quasi 7th grade spiritual fruit. After taking it, the spiritual power is increased several times that of a single fruit. At the same time, it has the effect of yin and yang complementing each other and endlessly harmonizing. Solitary yin can grow, solitary yang can grow, and yin and yang can be planted together, which is superior to the 6th grade. A 6th grade spiritual seed that grows together and complements yin and yang. This Bay family leader is so well hidden. If you don't have this special ability and don't understand the peculiarity of this inverted yin and inverted yang fruit, you may miss a supreme 6th grade spiritual plant that is second only to the 7th grade. After realizing the detailed information of the spiritual plant, Lu Xuan's heart was in turmoil, but his expression remained calm, so as to prevent the Bay family leader and the other giant and real people from discovering anything unusual. Since I know about it, it is even more impossible to miss it. He thought secretly in his heart, took out the inverted yin fruit spiritual seed from the spiritual soil, and returned it to the old man. What do you think, fellow Daoist Lu? The old man checked the spirit seed briefly, confirmed that it was correct, and asked with a smile. Yes, I like it very much. Lu Xuan nodded and said. Then I wonder what the treasure in your hand is. Hearing the old man's words, Lu Xuan smiled, and took out a palm-sized stone tablet from his storage bag. The stone tablet was a faint 7-color, and countless little people with different shapes and movements were engraved on the surface. The little people were lifelike, as if they had vitality, and they performed scenes of joy and sorrow on the surface of the stone tablet. This treasure is called the red dust tablet. The mind can go deep into it and experience the various aspects of the world, life, and death. It has the effect of tempering the mind, strengthening the spiritual consciousness, resisting the invasion of evil demons, and slightly increasing the probability of breaking through the Jinden. He transmitted a voice to the old man. When the foundation building cultivator is promoted to the Jinden stage, if his mind is unstable, it may attract the invasion of evil demons, or even breed inner demons in his body, resulting in the failure of the Jinden stage. In serious cases, there may be life-threatening situations. The red dust stele from the 7 emotions being light group can solve this problem very well, but Lu Xuan is alone, and has no ties. After he is promoted to the Jinden stage, the red dust stele can only be placed in a corner to gather dust. It is just right to be used to exchange for the mysterious spirit seed of the Bei family, a treasure that can increase the probability of Jinden. Hearing Lu Xuan's words, the clear-headed old man almost lost his mind. He controlled his thoughts with great concentration, took the colorful stone tablet sent by Lu Xuan, and probed into it with his mind. As expected, there is such a treasure. It is a perfect match for the current Bei family. He was filled with endless joy in his heart. The Bei family is a big family with a lot of wealth. There is no shortage of perfect foundation cultivators. It is just limited by the foundation. Unless you have a talent that is 1 in a million, it is difficult to be promoted to the Jinden stage. However, the stone tablet in front of him can slightly increase the probability of breaking through to the Jinden stage. Even if the increase is only a little bit, adding 1 or 2 Jinden real people to the Bei family will also be of infinite benefit to the Bei family. God help the Bei family. We must get this magical stone tablet, he said fiercely in his heart. Dao Lu, this treasure is indeed as you said, suitable for small families and sects like the Bei family. Dao is also a spiritual plant master, why not just exchange it directly? With this red dust monument, the old man had forgotten about the starlight mother-child sword and the 5th grade skills. It's okay to exchange, but if we just exchange it directly, wouldn't I be at a disadvantage? Lu Xuan said with a smile. The 6th grade spiritual seed is an extremely rare species. How can Dao be at a disadvantage by exchanging it for the 5th grade treasure in Dao Lu's hand? The old man retorted. That's not what I meant. Lu Xuan shook his head calmly. Although the spiritual seed in the hands of Patriarch Bei is of the 6th grade, it is the lowest value among the treasures of the same grade. It is risky to cultivate successfully, and it also takes a lot of time and energy. It belongs to the category of den formation with the 5th grade treasures. Compared with some rare treasures, its value may be slightly worse, and my red dust tablet can slightly increase the probability of den formation. I believe that what it means to a force like the Bei family is very clear. Then how about I give you an additional 100,000 low-grade spiritual stones as compensation? You can buy a good 5th grade magic weapon, which is the greatest sincerity I can show. The old man asked tentatively. Lu is sincere to exchange with you, but I didn't expect you to be so perfunctory. Lu Xuan made a move to put the red dust tablet into the storage bag. What do you want, Lu? As long as the Bei family can do it, I will definitely meet your requirements. Bei Yushan saw Lu Xuan's move, and a hint of urgency flashed in his eyes. Even though he knew that Lu Xuan was playing hard to get, he could only rush to get the treasure of the red dust monument like a moth to a flame, regardless of the consequences. Seeing this, Lu Xuan raised the corners of his mouth. Brother Bei should have another 6th grade spirit seed from the same source as this one, right? His tone was gentle, but his words made the old man's eyes suddenly widen. Chapter 693 Harvest. Why do you say that, fellow Daoist Lu? This 6th grade spirit seed is extremely rare, and there is indeed only one. The clear-headed old man exhaled silently and calmly transmitted his voice to Lu Xuan. Fellow Daoist Bei, you are not honest enough. Lu Xuan sighed. How did fellow Daoist Lu determine that there is another 6th grade spirit seed from the same source? Bei Yushan lowered his eyes for a long time and asked Lu Xuan. Judging from his tone, what Lu Xuan said was completely correct. I have been immersed in the spiritual plant for decades, read all kinds of spiritual plant classics, and cultivated countless spiritual plants. Naturally, I'm familiar with similar situations. Although spiritual seeds from the same source, but not exactly the same, are rare, they still exist. I have planted more than one kind. Lu Xuan thought of the holy infant fruit and the 18,000 Kyang hands. In addition, to be honest with you, fellow Daoist Bay, I have a pretty good talent in spiritual plants, and I have a strong affinity for the nature of various spiritual plants. From your 6th grade spiritual seed, I sensed that its vitality was not harmonious enough, and it seemed to be missing something, so I made a guess. From your reaction, Chief Bay, I guessed it right. Lu Xuan made up a random sentence. The old man remained silent, not expecting that the guest of the Halao Chamber of Commerce in front of him was actually deceiving him. Fellow Daoist Bay, why don't you add the other 6th grade spiritual seed, to exchange for my red dust tablet treasure? 6th grade spiritual seeds are extremely difficult to cultivate. Even a spiritual plant master at the Jindan realm, they're not guarantee that they will succeed. If they succeed by chance, the maturity cycle will easily take 10 years or even dozens of years. During this period of time, the red dust tablet may help the Bay family have another Jindan true person. Lu Xuan was calm and composed, and he accurately grasped the Bay family's urgent need for the red dust tablet. Okay. Deal. Bai Yushin hesitated for a while, and said through gritted teeth. 2 rare 6th grade spirit seeds were exchanged for a 5th grade treasure. Obviously, the value was not equal, but the red dust tablet was not an ordinary treasure. It was too tempting for the Bai family. After he made the decision, he informed the other cultivators present that the spirit seeds had been exchanged. Although the other cultivators felt sorry, they did not behave rudely, and left one after another. When only Lu Xuan, a Jindan cultivator, was left in the hall, Bai Yushin looked at Lu Xuan and shook his head helplessly. Dao Ayaolu is really too cunning. He took out a spirit seed with a white glow from his storage bag. A warm feeling came from the spirit seed, which seemed to be able to dissolve all the haze in the world. Haha, Dao Ayao Bay, that's not right. If Dao Ayao didn't need this red dust tablet, even if you only had one spirit seed, you would not have exchanged it with me. I wish Dao Ayao Bay's family to flourish and produce more Jindan. After getting the complete yin yang fruit, Lu Xuan was in a good mood and laughed heartily. He did not stay in the yard for long. He collected the 2 spiritual seeds, one black and one white, and returned to the branch building of the Halao Chamber of Commerce with the female cultivator surnamed Wen. Senior Lu, this is the seedling of the black Zheng wood, which is condensed from the mature black Zheng wood. Just planted near the Zhengjin spiritual mine. Not long after he sat down, the female cultivator brought a piece of black dry branch to Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan's spiritual sense briefly scanned it, and noticed that there was a strong vitality in the branch, and nodded. Thank you, Master Wen. How many spiritual stones do you need for this black Zhengwood seedling? Although he was a guest of the Halao Chamber of Commerce, he had no right to directly get various spiritual seeds from the Chamber of Commerce for free. At most, he could only give a discount. Senior Lu, 4,500 low-grade spiritual stones. The female cultivator surnamed Wen said with her head down. Lu Xuan had no objection to this price. He knew that it was quite good to get a 4th grade spiritual seed with more than 4,000 low grade spiritual stones, so he paid the spiritual stones immediately. After coming out of the branch building, he came to a grocery store. At this time, there were only a few cultivators in the grocery store who were selecting treasures. They were all in the foundation building stage. It was obvious that Lu Xuan was right to let the grocery store go the boutique route. Senior Lu, Wen Qian, who was at the innermost, spotted Lu Xuan and hurried out to greet him. Seeing this, the several foundation building cultivators in the store scanned with their spiritual senses and found that Lu Xuan's aura was unfathomable and immediately greeted him. Senior Lu, these are the spiritual stones I got recently. After the few people left, Wen Qian set up a simple ban at the door of the store and took out a large number of low-grade and medium-grade spiritual stones with spiritual light flowing from the storage bag. But, well done. Lu Xuan glanced at it casually and instantly realized that the total amount was about 300,000 low-grade spiritual stones. This time I brought a lot of sword talismans, sword raising goods, and some other treasures. In addition, there is a 5th grade defensive magic weapon, the Xuan Gang armor. Lu Xuan took out the silver white soft armor and handed it to Wen Qian. 5th grade defensive magic weapon. When Xuan exclaimed. When he heard that Lu Xuan brought a lot of sword talismans, he was already a little surprised. He didn't expect that there was also a 5th grade treasure. The strength of the boss in front of him was even stronger than he imagined. It was only a few months after selling the 9-head dragon picture, and he took out another 5th grade treasure to sell. While he was surprised at Lu Xuan's wealth and strength, he was also a little happy in his heart. The stronger Lu Xuan's strength, the faster he would grow as a grocery store manager, and the more opportunities he would get. The little broth that Lu Xuan dripped out was enough for him to eat with oil dripping from his mouth. Work hard, and you will definitely benefit in the future. Lu Xuan painted a big pie and changed the subject. By the way, I told you to learn some spiritual plant knowledge before. How is your progress? After the senior gave the order, I searched for a lot of spiritual plant books from various shops. I have been studying hard in my spare time. At present, I have mastered a lot of basic knowledge of spiritual plants and can identify common species in the world. It's just that I haven't put it into practice yet. It's just theoretical knowledge. Hearing Lu Xuan's question, when Xuan unconsciously put his legs together and lowered his head to reply. It's enough to master the theoretical knowledge of spiritual plants and learn to identify spiritual plant varieties. You still have to focus on the grocery store. There is no need to try to cultivate spiritual plants. It's far from enough to just learn some common sense. Find more spiritual plant books. The rarer the better. Try to understand those high-grade rare spiritual species as much as possible. If the books are expensive, you can withdraw spiritual stones from the shop. Lu Xuan said gently. He basically stayed in the cave on weekdays, which was slightly out of touch with the outside world. It was easy to miss some opportunities to get rare spiritual species. For example, if the female cultivator surnamed Wen had not mentioned it this time, he would have missed the chance to obtain the Diandianiyang fruit, which would have been a huge loss. Therefore, he intended to train Wen Xuan, spread the reputation of the grocery store, and collect some rare spiritual seeds through him. This was also an additional way to obtain spiritual seeds. The junior must study it hard and put it in the first place. Wen Xuan immediately expressed his opinion after hearing this. After spending such a long time with Lu Xuan, he already knew that the Jinden Zenran in front of him had a kind temperament. As long as he completed the tasks entrusted by him well, he would be rewarded with various treasures in a good mood. Therefore, his idea of learning spiritual plant knowledge became more determined. Chapter 694, Fight for Opportunity? Bye. I didn't expect to have an unexpected gain from going out. Lu Xuan flew out of the nebula vortex with the help of the Thunder and Fire Order, feeling quite happy. He left the cave this time, intending to collect spiritual plants suitable for refining magic tools, but he unexpectedly got the spirit seed of the yin and yang fruit. From the information of the spiritual plants that appeared after planting, it can be known that this 6th grade spiritual seed has a magical effect after it matures, second only to the 7th grade spiritual plants. It is so rare that the light ball that blooms at that time will naturally be extraordinary. The Void Nightmare Eyes explored the way ahead, and Lu Xuan successfully returned to the outside of the cave. As soon as the formation was opened, the fat bad sensed the familiar breath on him, and the huge light blue wings dragged the spherical body and flew quickly in front of him. Under the strong inertia, 6 small tree girls were thrown out from the back of the fat bird, trembling in the air to adjust their bodies, and flew in front of Lu Xuan and whimpered softly. Roar a dull thunder sounded, and the thunder dragon was hiding in the wings of the fat bird, as if reminding Lu Xuan to go and look for it. Little did he know that the silver white horn on his head had emerged from the wings of the fat bird, revealing its location clearly. After Lu Xuan appeased the spirit beasts, he could not wait to come to the spirit field. After searching for a long time, he finally found a suitable spirit field. There are more and more spirit plants in the cave, and it's almost full. I can't help it. When I see the seeds I like, I can't help but want to get them. Lu Xuan sighed and took out a piece of spirit ore with countless gold dots from his storage bag. This spirit ore is of the 3rd grade and contains a small amount of Zhengjin, which is just right for cultivating the 4th grade Wu Zhengmu spirit plant. He easily crushed the hard spirit ore with one hand and sprinkled it evenly in the spirit soil of the spirit field. Then, he took out the Wujengmu branch. With the movement of spiritual power, the structure of the spirit soil changed slightly, and a long and thin crack appeared. Lu Xuan inserted the branch into the crack. He concentrated his mind on it. Black Zheng wood, a 4th grade spiritual plant, needs to grow in spiritual soil containing Zhengzhen ore. It has both hardness and toughness, and has strong spiritual power conductivity. When mature, it can be used as an excellent material for refining magic tools. In one word, hard. It's an excellent material for refining magic tools. It's unreasonable not to open a treasure for refining tools, right? Lu Xuan chuckled, and took out the 2 6th grade spiritual seeds, one black and one white, from the storage bag. Holding the 2 spiritual seeds in his hands, when they were close to each other, he could faintly sense the weak suction from the opposite side. The closer they were, the stronger the suction. In the end, they merged together unconsciously. The black and white spiritual lights were mixed, and they were clearly separated from each other, but there was a sense of natural harmony, as if they were born this way. Unfortunately, there is no suitable environment for the growth of the Diandian Yang fruit in the cave, so the spirit seed can only be wronged, and stay in the gluttonous insect capsule for a while. After the 2 spirit seeds of the Diandian Yang fruit are fused, they need to grow in the spiritual soil with harmonious yin and yang. At present, the spiritual field in the cave cannot meet its growth conditions, so we have to collect relevant treasures first. Maybe we can ask the green-horned thunder rhinoceros in the Thunder Mars cave for help. It has the strength of a 7th grade monster beast, and is good at thunder magic. The thunder destroys vitality in an instant, and contains a trace of yin and yang. Lu Xuan decided to wait until the next time he goes to the Thunder Sea to get some money from the green-horned thunder rhinoceros. Not for anything else, but mainly because I miss the old monster beast, and want to help it clean up the thunder death crystal. He thought to himself, and came to the underworld spiritual field area. Entering it is like entering a ghost den. Ghosts are floating, blood and flesh are everywhere, and evil spirits are rising to the sky. The spirit plants inside are ugly and hideous, and the yin spirit is eerie. Lu Xuan had long been accustomed to this scene, and he looked at the evil spirit plants scattered around the spiritual field one by one. The skeleton demon temple had built a bone platform about 1 foot high, with countless white skeletons of different sizes and lengths connected together in various ways, densely packed, with clear layers, and a kind of weird and rigorous beauty. Next to the evil spirit fruit, the evil spirit was extremely strong, and the spirit fruit could be seen breathing out grayish white breath. The bronze halberd obtained from the Taoist Mu had become rusty, and the evil spirit, that seemed to be substantial inside, had been absorbed by the spirit fruit. Lu Xuan noticed that the evil spirit fruit and the 5 internal organs treasure plant next to it had entered a mature stage. Judging from the translucent progress bar below, it is estimated that they will mature in 1 or 2 years. In the yin energy, a big meatball rolled to Lu Xuan's feet. Come on, come on, it's still the same meat and blood as last time. Lu Xuan smiled, and took out a piece of meat mountain monk's blood and blood from the storage bag, and threw it to the big meatball. The fragments were still in the air when they turned into a puff of blood mist, which was instantly absorbed by the flesh spirit god. The pink pupils on the top of the ball blinked at Lu Xuan, looking like they were still not satisfied. Your appetite is getting bigger and bigger. Fortunately, there is a kind-hearted cultivator in the middle stage of the giant stage who provides countless flesh and blood. After eating almost all of it, it can promote its proliferation and continue to cut. Lu Xuan secretly felt that there were still many kind-hearted people in the cultivation world. He took out another piece of flesh and blood and threw it to the flesh spirit god. The big meatball was satisfied and jumped away. The quality of the ghosts absorbed by the ghost-eating evil vine is not enough. We have to find a way to get some high-quality ghosts. Lu Xuan looked at the ghost-eating evil vine that was integrating ghosts into the spiritual plant and muttered softly. At this moment, he suddenly felt a strange sensation on the back of his foot. Looking down, he saw a piece of bark with gorgeous patterns lying on the green shoes. The bark was only the size of a palm, and could not even cover the back of Lu Xuan's foot. You want to replace my skin at such a young age? Lu Xuan felt a slight tingling sensation on the back of his foot, and looked at the corpse skin with bad intentions, and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He kicked it away and continued to check the other evil spiritual plants. That day, when he was cultivating spiritual plants in the cave, Xuanzhe's familiar voice came from outside. Daoiaolu, are you in the cave? I have something to talk to you about. Hearing this, Lu Xuan hurried to the edge of the cave, opened the formation, and welcomed the young man in. Daoiaolu, you look so hurried. What's the matter? He asked with a smile. Xuanzhe was not far from his cave, and they had relatively more exchanges, so they were quite familiar with each other. But, I and a few Daoists I'm more familiar with are planning to go to the northern part of Zhangzhou for training and exploration. Daoiaolu, are you willing to go with us? To the far north. Lu Xuan looked embarrassed. I remember that Daoi asked about the news of the Yuanxi spirit mine more than once. It is said that there was a Yuanxi spirit mountain on Yuanfeng Island in the Boundless Sea. It is a good opportunity to go and take a look. That's why I came to ask Daoiaolu. Those Daoi are all in the Jiandan realm. They are very powerful and have good character. If they work together, Daoiaolu will have a greater chance of getting the Yuanxi spirit mine. With such a good opportunity, Daoiao, why don't you fight for that great opportunity? Xuanzhe asked doubtfully. After learning about the training path, he remembered the Yuanxi spirit mine that Lu Xuan had been thinking about, so he came to invite him. Fight for the opportunity? Lu Xuan muttered to himself. The opportunity still needs to be obtained, but with the light ball, there is no need to fight for it. Fight for the opportunity? It's better to buy the opportunity. He thought of it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 695. Do you understand the value of being at the top of the industry? After buying a grocery store in Zixing building, Lu Xuan had a stable source of rare treasures from the light balls, which brought him a steady stream of spirit stones. It is not an exaggeration to say that he made a fortune every day by earning spirit stones. When it comes to the cultivation of Yuan Sealing Mu, he has a strong desire to obtain Yuan Sealing Gyun, but he is not willing to explore and seek it himself. After all, his current cultivation is only in the early stage of Jiandan, and he only has a few treasures on him. His risk resistance is not as good as he can. It is better to stay in the cave, cultivate spirit plants, and harvest light balls. Anyway, it is all about chance. The safety in the cave is much higher than that in the secret realm outside. As for the Yuan Sealing Gyun, just buy it directly from the Jiandan cultivator. Lu Xuan made a decision in his heart, but his expression showed hesitation. Thank you, Daoist Xuan, for coming here to invite me, but I have to apologize to you. Why? Daoist Lu, don't you want to get the Yuan Sealing Gyun? Xuan looked confused. I still want to, but the journey to the northern boundless sea is long. If we explore and travel to several secret realms, it will take at least several months. But there are several high-grade spiritual plants in my spiritual field that are about to mature. They need to be carefully cared for every day. If I'm not in the cave, I'm afraid that the quality of the spiritual plants will be affected. I really can't get away. Lu Xuan said half-truthfully. That's a pity. I was thinking of helping you, Daoist Lu, to get a piece of Yuan Sealing mine. Xuan said regretfully. I have a plan, but I don't know if Daoist Xuan and other Daoists can accept it. Daoist Lu, please speak. If you Daoists can successfully obtain the Yuan Sealing mine, I can buy it from you at a high price. As for the price, it can be determined based on the quality and weight of the spiritual ore. Considering that you Daoists are taking risks, I can accept a little premium. Lu Xuan said with a smile. Pre-order Yuan Sealing mine. This way of getting treasures is a bit novel. Xuan couldn't help but laugh. In his understanding, if a cultivator knew the whereabouts of a desired treasure, he would try every means to get it personally, even if it meant risking his life. This was the first time he had seen Lu Xuan directly seize a treasure from another cultivator and then buy it again. Why, Daoist Xuan, you think it's not feasible? Lu Xuan asked when he saw him like this. That's definitely no problem. Not every cultivator needs to use the Xuan spiritual mine, and they will most likely sell or exchange it after getting it. Xuan was willing to buy it at a premium, and after thinking about it carefully, it would be better. Although pre-ordering treasures is feasible, Daoist Lu will have to pay a lot more. Xuan Zhe thought about it, and reminded him tactfully. Daoist Xuan, you don't have to worry about this. I have cultivated spiritual plants for many years, and have accumulated some spiritual stones. Xuan said with a smile. Daoist Lu, as a casual spiritual plant master, has broken through to the Jiandan realm, and can still buy the Xuan spiritual mine at a premium. How can a spiritual plant master earn spiritual stones? Xuan Zhe couldn't help asking. Haha, being a spiritual plant master is not as lucrative as refining tools and alchemy. However, although I cannot increase income, I can cut down on expenditure. I have been staying in the cave, so I don't spend many spiritual stones. If I go out to explore the secret realm, I need to prepare several powerful magic tools, and I will consume a lot of talismans and elixirs. That way, it is also a huge fortune. In addition, my attainments in spiritual plants are not inferior to other spiritual plant masters. Even if the spiritual stones I earn are far less than those of refiners and alchemists, it is not a small amount. Xuan leaned back slightly. Do you understand the value of the top of the industry? Dao Lu is right. I'm short-sighted. Dao may be slightly inferior to me in cultivation, but I can't even compare to you in spiritual plant attainments. Xuan Zhe nodded with a look of realization. Then it's a deal. If I succeed in getting the Xuan spiritual mine, I'll come over and sell it to you, Daoist fellow Lu. Okay. Then I wish Daoist fellow Xuan and the other Daoists to get the treasure successfully and return safely. When the time comes, I'll let Daoist fellow taste the fine wine I just brewed. Xuan smiled and bowed. Haha, Daoist fellow Lu, you have to prepare more. Goodbye. The young man laughed heartily, turned into a white light, and disappeared into the sky in an instant. Why do I feel that it was a bit like a typical flag raising? Xuan looked at the tiny lightning in the sky in the distance and shook his head. What opportunity do I have to fight for? Can't I just buy it directly? Although the Xuan spiritual mine is rare and expensive, it is not very useful for cultivators who have not practiced the Xuan related magic and magical powers, and the possibility of successfully buying it is very high. You fight for opportunities, and I'll farm. He activated the illusion 5 element formation in the cloud bamboo arrow formation, came to the spiritual field to inspect, and checked the detailed status of each spiritual plant. On the surface of the 6th grade sitting Buddha lotus spiritual plant, bright yellow Buddha light flows, giving people a sense of tranquility and peace. A little monk's shadow jumped out from the lotus leaf, sometimes sleeping soundly, sometimes sitting in meditation, with a sense of the charm of a high monk in every move. The 5th grade Jingping willow, also a Buddhist spiritual plant. Unknowingly, the green and tender willow branches are pulled out from the bottle-shaped spiritual soil structure, full of vitality, agile, and clear, like a breeze on the face, quietly soothing Xuan's body and mind. Xuan carefully nourished and cultivated the 2 Buddhist spiritual plants together with other spiritual plants, and came to the spiritual field area, where the ice firefly grass was planted. The 36 ice firefly grass is obtained through seed condensation and improvement methods. 4 fully mature plants were picked some time ago, and 5 of the remaining azure spiritual grasses are fully mature. He carefully picked them, and harvested 5 white light balls. He was rewarded with 15 years of cultivation, a 4th grade ice soul pill, and a 4th grade ice spirit pill, which are suitable for foundation building cultivators who practice ice-based exercises. After taking them, they can slightly increase the cultivator's mana. There are still 27 ice fireflies. I have been cultivating for more than 30 years and my strength has increased a lot. There is no need to rush to harvest the light balls. It is important to condense spirit seeds and expand production. When I can plant a large number of ice fireflies, that will be the stage when my cultivation will rise rapidly. Xuan thought secretly. He planned to wait until the remaining ice fireflies matured before picking 7 more, leaving 24 condensing seeds and obtaining more spirit seeds. Back in the yard, Xuan entered the alchemy room. As soon as he entered, a wave of fire rushed towards him. There was a simple ban in the middle of the alchemy room, and more than 10 fiery red lotus seeds were floating in the air. The lotus seeds were the size of the thumb tip, and deep red smoke could be vaguely seen flowing inside. Under the numerous fiery red lotus seeds, there was a platinum flame burning quietly. Every once in a while, the lotus seeds would fall into the flame, surrounded and roasted by it. After being stimulated and induced by the pure yang true fire for such a long time, I wonder if these earth fire heart lotus seeds have undergone any changes. Lu Xuan muttered to himself as he came to the fiery red lotus seeds. Chapter 696 Sending Seeds, Yuan Yang Wood. Under his spiritual control, one after another, the earth fire heart lotus spiritual seeds came to him. He then planted them in the spiritual soil, and thus learned the detailed status of the spirit seeds. This was the biggest reason why he had the confidence to improve the 5th grade spirit seeds. Ordinary spiritual plant masters, if they want to induce and improve a certain type of spiritual plant, must cultivate the spirit seeds into complete spiritual plants under various stimulations, and then study their characteristics and magical features to roughly find out whether they are effective. However, after stimulating and inducing the spirit seeds, Lu Xuan only needs to plant them in the spiritual field to know the specific situation of the spirit seeds. This link alone saves a lot of time and energy. This spirit seed. When checking the lotus seeds, a different thought flashed through Lu Xuan's mind. The mutated earth fire heart lotus, a 4th grade spiritual plant, needs to grow in hot magma and be nourished and cultivated with fire spiritual power. The lotus seeds formed can purify turbid and polluted auras after being consumed, reducing the risk of alienation of cultivators. Due to the long-term stimulation and induction of the 5th grade pure yang true fire, the lotus seeds of the earth fire heart lotus have mutated and are stained with a trace of the origin of the pure yang true fire. The lotus seeds can cause certain damage to evil demons. Finally, a spiritual seed has mutated. It is worth it that I have used the pure yang true fire to stimulate it for so long. Lu Xuan couldn't help but sigh. After he comprehended this strange fire from the pure yang true fire talisman, he didn't use it much to fight the enemy, but used it to improve the spiritual seeds. If some giant and cultivators who practiced fire-related skills and magical powers knew about it, they would beat their chests and scold Lu Xuan for wasting heaven's gifts. The next thing to do is to plant this earth fire heart lotus's mutated spiritual seed, cultivate it, and then use the method of condensing seeds to get as many mutated spiritual seeds as possible. With rounds of screening, stimulation, induction, and cultivation, the 5th grade spiritual seeds are just around the corner. As for the method of condensing seeds for the mutated earth fire heart lotus, Lu Xuan was not very worried. He had already mastered the method of condensing the seeds of the earth fire heart lotus, and there must be a lot to learn from for condensing the mutant spirit seeds. Moreover, if there is any abnormality, he can detect it in time and make adjustments. With such ability, it is no exaggeration to say that he is not inferior to those big sects and big families in inducing and improving spirit seeds. After Lu Xuan checked some other lotus seeds one by one, a small part of them had become waste seeds, while the others did not change much. Either they did not reach the critical value of mutation, or the spirit seeds were damaged. It is estimated that they can still hold on for a while. After checking the seeds of the earth fire heart lotus, Lu Xuan entered the core area of the illusion 5-element formation. The 5-element fruit spirit seeds placed in the formation and induced by the power of the 5-element did not bring any surprises. Lu Xuan was calm. Improving spirit seeds, especially improving the 5th grade spirit seeds, is not a matter of one day or one night. It must be done slowly and patiently. There are too many spirit plants in the spirit field, and half a day has passed in a blink of an eye. Lu Xuan returned to the yard, took out the pale green jade ball with the King Guilin embryo, and injected strands of King Mu Yuan Qi into it from his fingertips. In his spiritual perception, the connection with the sleeping King Guilin cub became closer and closer, and it would not take long for the cub to wake up. Half a month passed in a blink of an eye. On this day, when Lu Xuan was performing the spirit rain technique on many spiritual plants in the cave, a gentle voice came from outside the cave. Dao Lu, are you in the cave? I'm Xuan, and I'm here to chat with you. Xuan, a middle-aged cultivator as gentle as jade flashed through Lu Xuan's mind. The cultivator had the cultivation level of the late giant stage. He had dealt with him at the auction, held by the Halao Chamber of Commerce, and was one of the high-level executives of the Chamber of Commerce. On the recommendation of the Treasure Tower Spirit, he introduced Lu Xuan to the Halao Chamber of Commerce, and made him a guest of the Chamber of Commerce. When he was in the giant stage, he came to congratulate him in person, and gave him a 5th grade snow barrier ice jade lotus spirit seed. It's fellow Daoist Yan. Please come in. Lu Xuan opened the formation, and smiled as he welcomed the gentle middle-aged man into the cave. The two came to the courtyard one after the other, and he served spiritual fruits and tea. I heard that fellow Daoist Lu is searching for spiritual plants suitable for refining magic tools recently. After chatting for a while, Xuan asked casually, yes, it is true. Lu Xuan had specifically asked in the Zexing Tower branch, so it was not a secret. In addition, it is natural for spiritual plant masters to search for spiritual plants, so there is nothing to hide. I heard the news and got a 5th grade Yuan wood from the headquarters to give to fellow Daoist Lu. Xuan said, taking out a pure white seedling from the storage bag. The seedling exuded a faint light, warm and bright, and seemed to be able to dispel the cold and filth in the world. 5th grade spiritual plant? Sent specifically for me? Lu Xuan muttered to himself, secretly alert. This 5th grade spiritual plant is too precious. Lu, feel ashamed to accept it. Although he wanted to get this 5th grade Yuan wood, he also knew that he should not accept gifts without merit. He would not accept it casually, before knowing the reason why Xuan gave it to him. Dao Lu, you are too polite. Xuan smiled. Dao, as a guest spiritual plant master hired by the Chamber of Commerce, you can naturally enjoy the benefits brought by the Chamber of Commerce. You have done so much for the Chamber of Commerce, and you have the experience of dealing with many tiger and leopard grass spiritual plants. It is reasonable for the Chamber of Commerce to give this Yuan wood seedling to you. Dao needs a spiritual plant that can be used to refine instruments. Yuan wood is naturally an excellent choice. It can be used to refine a variety of magic tools. It has its own magical power to exorcise evil spirits, especially to restrain evil spirits. During the planting process, it is necessary to avoid the invasion of Yunqi, and not to be contaminated by evil and filthy things. Xuan said, and sent the Yuan wood seedling to Lu Xuan with a firm expression. Then thank you, fellow Daoist Yan, and thank you for your appreciation of the Chamber of Commerce. Lu Xuan could not refuse, so he had to accept. Fellow Daoist, are you searching for this kind of spiritual plants because you want to develop into a weapon refiner? Xuan asked curiously. I don't have that talent. Lu Xuan shook his head to deny. It's just that this kind of spiritual plants are widely used and easy to sell, so I want to try to plant them and earn more spiritual stones. Lu Xuan said half truthfully. Before he saw the light balls blooming from the spiritual plants for weapon refiners, he was not wrong. I see. Xuan nodded, and his eyes swept over the fat birds and other spiritual beasts inside and outside the yard. By the way, fellow Daoist Lu, I see that you have raised so many spiritual beasts. The last time I came to the cave, Qi Wuheng, the star envoy, mentioned that you helped him solve a problem with the spiritual beast. I wonder how your attainments in spiritual beasts compare to those in spiritual plants. I know a little bit, maybe just a little bit worse than spiritual plants. Lu Xuan said modestly. After all, the number of spiritual plants successfully cultivated is countless times that of spiritual beasts, so this is not wrong. I came here this time to ask for a favor from you. Please go ahead, fellow Daoist Yan. The Chamber of Commerce has a special secret realm where many completely ferocious beasts are raised. For some reasons, those beasts are ferocious and extremely aggressive, and are extremely difficult to tame. I want to let fellow Daoist Lu go over and take a look. I wonder if fellow Daoist Lu is willing to give it a try? No problem, I have some experience in dealing with ferocious beasts. Lu Xuan recalled the situation when he tamed various exotic beasts when he was in the Xianjian sect and nodded in agreement. Chapter 697. Be kind to people and animals. For him, demon beasts are not much different from spiritual plants. As long as he completes the breeding process, he can learn about their species, status and other aspects in detail. In addition, he just got a 5th grade spiritual plant seedling from Xuan, so it was difficult to refuse, so Xuan nodded in agreement. Okay, then I will take you to that secret realm, the gentle middle-aged man said. After Xuan arranged everything in the cave, a silver white array plate appeared in his hand. The array plate shone brightly, and the two figures disappeared in an instant. This is the special secret realm owned by the Chamber of Commerce. In the sky, the two figures quietly appeared from a space crack. As soon as he entered, Xuan noticed that the surrounding spiritual energy was filled with an aura that made people anxious. He lowered his head and looked down. There were many kinds of terrain in the secret realm, and occasionally he could see the ferocious beasts flashing by. When a beast discovered other beasts, it rushed to the other party without hesitation, and even caused a melee. Don't these beasts need to be disciplined? He couldn't help asking Xuan, who was standing beside him. Compared with the beasts below, the beasts he had tamed in the Xianjian sect were well behaved and sensible. What you don't know, fellow Daoist Lu, these beasts were specially selected and sent to the secret realm because of their ferocity. After being raised in this special secret realm for a period of time, the ferocity in their bodies will be further enhanced. Xuan explained to Xuan while flying. The reason for this is that these beasts have special uses. Some of the 5th grade beasts in it have spirits that are most suitable for refining into magic weapons and artifact spirits. 4th grade beasts are also more suitable for refining certain magic tools, formations, and even practicing magical powers than ordinary monsters. You can also raise beasts in a targeted manner. I have learned a lot. Xuan nodded lightly inside. There are 2 giant cultivators from the Chamber of Commerce in the secret realm, as well as several mid to late stage foundation cultivators. I will introduce them to you, fellow Daoist Lu. After a while, the two came to an open plain, and they could see more than a dozen cultivators coming to greet them from afar. The 2 leaders were both in the early stage of Jinden. One was burly, dark-skinned, naked from the waist up, and wearing a short animal skin skirt with patterns of exotic beasts on his lower body. The other had a string of white skeletons hanging around his neck. Each skeleton had a strange shape, and it was unknown what kind of monster it was made of. This is fellow Daoist Pan Hong, who is proficient in animal language and has a strong ability to communicate with fierce beasts. This is fellow Daoist Ding Yu, who comes from a large beast taming clan and has rich experience in raising monsters. He knows the habits of most monsters like the back of his hand. As for this one, it is fellow Daoist Lu Xuan, who has profound attainments in spiritual plants and animals, and was even hired as a guest official by the Chamber of Commerce. Xuan introduced the 3 to each other. Fellow Daoist Lu, I have heard of you for a long time. Hello, fellow Daoists. Both of them showed warm smiles on their faces. Although their cultivation was comparable to Lu Xuan was a guest official of the Chamber of Commerce, and his status was much higher, so they naturally had to get to know him well. A group of Chamber of Commerce cultivators entered the depths of the plain. From their mouths, I learned that the beasts in the secret realm were all fierce and fierce. In order to avoid being attacked by the beasts, they deliberately built their residences deep underground and arranged multiple arrays and prohibitions to make the residences impregnable. Xuan did not stay in the secret realm for long. After telling Lu Xuan a few words, he left directly. Lu Xuan rested for half a day and learned a lot of information about the secret realm of fierce beasts from Pan Hong and Ding Yu. Afterwards, he boarded a flying boat magic weapon of Pan Hong, intending to walk around the secret realm and learn more about those fierce beasts. Fellow Daoist Lu, do you have rich experience in fighting monsters on weekdays? On the flying boat, the aura shield firmly protected the 2 people, and the burly Pan Hong asked Lu Xuan, I basically stay in the cave, treat people kindly, and rarely have fighting experience. Lu Xuan answered truthfully, that's a bit difficult. Dealing with these ferocious beasts in the secret realm, you can't avoid fighting them. However, fellow Daoist Lu is a giant and cultivator after all. With his cultivation, he can suppress most of the ferocious beasts. There is no need to worry about this. Pan Hong said to Lu Xuan. What cultivators in the secret realm have to do is very simple: raising ferocious beasts and maintaining their ferocity. They can be tamed, but they can't be absolutely tamed. It's still quite difficult to do this. It's hard to grasp the degree. Ferocious beasts often die in the hands of cultivators. What is the ferocious beast loss rate that the Chamber of Commerce can accept? Lu Xuan suddenly asked. Pan Hong turned his head, looking a little surprised. He didn't expect Lu Xuan to ask such a question. Within 10%, the Chamber of Commerce will not ask, and within 30%, you must give an explanation to the Chamber of Commerce, he said concisely. Then how dangerous is it for cultivators to stay in the secret realm and raise ferocious beasts? Lu Xuan nodded slightly, indicating that he understood, and then asked. As far as I know, only 2 foundation building monks have died in the attacks of multiple beasts over the years, and there are quite a few injured. As for Jiandan monks, injuries are rare. After all, there are not many 5th grade beasts in the secret realm. The monks have magic weapons specifically for dealing with beasts. When they encounter danger occasionally, they can also ask other Taoist friends for help. There are also defensive magic weapons and talismans issued by the Chamber of Commerce, so safety can still be guaranteed. The flying boat moved forward, and the number of beasts that came into view increased. Fellow Taoisting and I are each responsible for an area, and the methods we use to tame beasts are slightly different. I call this place Pan Hong Park. The burly young monk suddenly grinned, and the patterns of strange beasts on his fur skirt moved, and his whole body exuded a fierce aura similar to that of a beast. Lu Xuan turned his head and saw a colorful giant snake with 2 wings shooting towards the flying boat like a sharp arrow. Fellow Taoist Lu, stay on the flying boat and don't move. I'll be back soon. Pan Hong left a word, and his right foot swelled several times, with muscles knotted, and blue and red blood vessels as thick as fingers. He stomped hard on the flying boat, and kicked the scaly belly of the double-winged giant snake at a speed several times faster than the giant snake. The power of this kick was so amazing, that the double-winged giant snake could not control itself. It kept tumbling in the air, like a falling meteor, falling to the ground, stirring up dust all over the sky. This taming method is a bit simple and crude. Seeing this scene, Lu Xuan secretly sighed in his heart. However, for these ferocious beasts, that are only ferocious but lack intelligence, this is actually the most reasonable and effective means. No matter how gentle the means of taming are, it is worse than beating them up directly. It seems that I have to adapt well to this Pan Hong Park, and learn how to deal with these ferocious beasts. Be kind to people, but it's different with ferocious beasts. Lu Xuan stretched his body, and the glazed red phoenix bone was fused into his body. The bones with golden spots made a crisp sound, and he felt eager to try. Chapter 698. You are hungry too. When Pan Hong returned to the flying boat, Lu Xuan had already regained his friendly look. The beasts here are like this, they don't learn their lessons, so they must be beaten up from time to time to make them surrender. Pan Hong's body gradually returned to normal, and he said to Lu Xuan, I'm grateful for your advice. Lu Xuan said with a bow. He stayed on the flying boat for nearly an hour, during which he saw Pan Hong beat up the beasts several times. The next day, he and Pan Hong came out of the residence deep in the secret realm together. Dao Lu, take these magic tools and talismans. They are standard equipment in the secret realm, and can be used for self-defense. Although Dao shouldn't need them with your strength, you still have to have them. The burly monk handed Lu Xuan a bunch of things. You are new here, so you can try to raise and tame those 4th grade beasts first. After you are familiar with them, we can go together to deal with those 5th grade monsters with the strength of Jiandan. Okay, then I will go first. Lu Xuan nodded and said, also driving a flying boat to the area designated for him in advance. Although most of the beasts in the secret realm are 4th grade, the beasts sent in are extremely powerful among their kind, and they are nourished by the special spiritual power of this secret realm, so they are much more difficult to deal with than ordinary 4th grade monsters. He recalled Pan Hong's instructions, and the flying boat flew in the low sky. The main things that the monks of the Chamber of Commerce in the secret realm do are only 2 things, raising beasts and taming them within a controllable range, so as to retain their ferocity and prevent them from causing any trouble. Lu Xuan thought in his heart, but his attention was not relaxed at all. Suddenly, his spiritual consciousness noticed a black giant tiger beast not far away. The beast had flame-like patterns on its body, strong limbs, smooth lines, and a fierce aura all over its body. Xuan's flying boat landed gently, and in his spiritual sense, the giant tiger beast quietly sneaked towards his location. "Here, I'll give you something delicious." He threw a piece of bloody monster meat to the giant tiger. The giant tiger beast jumped up and instantly crossed a distance of more than 10 feet. Like a black light passing by, it swallowed dozens of pounds of monster meat into its stomach in one gulp. Xuan's mind was focused on it. The black flame tiger, a 4th grade monster beast, has amazing power, can release black flame strange fire, and has a fierce and eccentric temperament. A thought emerged in his mind. Xuan sensed the detailed information of the giant tiger monster beast. Suddenly, he felt a strong and greedy swallowing impulse from its thoughts. "Why, eating such a big piece of monster meat is not enough, and you still want to eat me?" A smile appeared on Xuan's face. Before he finished speaking, the giant tiger monster beast roared and came to Xuan in an instant. The giant palm covered Xuan firmly and slapped him hard. "Pa!" The expected scene of blood and flesh flying everywhere did not appear. The giant tiger only felt an irresistible force coming from the top of its head. A crisp sound rang out, and a slap directly knocked it to the ground. A dent several inches deep appeared on its head. "You want to eat meat so much? Then give it to you." Xuan stuffed his palm directly into the giant tiger's mouth. Unexpectedly, this beast was a reckless guy. He completely forgot the big loss he had just suffered and bit it. But unexpectedly, he didn't bite the meat, but broke several teeth. "You really dare to eat?" Xuan laughed angrily, looking at the faint tooth marks on his arm that were disappearing rapidly. "I wanted to get along with you as an ordinary spiritual plant master, but what I got in return was greed. No more pretending. I'm a beast master. I'm showing my cards." Xuan took advantage of the situation and punched down, smashing the giant tiger's scalp and bleeding. "Do you still want to eat?" The beast was still greedy. Another punch was thrown down. In this way, Xuan, through his understanding of the beast's thoughts, punched the tiger's head again and again, until he finally didn't notice the greed and hunger for him. "You are hungry too, and you even want to eat me." Xuan looked at the tiger lying on the ground, its huge body motionless, only its tail was gently swinging, conveying a goodwill to Xuan. Seeing this, Xuan finally smiled, stretched out his hand, and was about to gently comfort the tiger, but found that there was no intact skin. "That's good." He smiled embarrassedly, retracted his palm, and boarded the flying boat again, to look for another beast. In this way, every time he encountered a beast, he took out the monster meat to feed it, and by the way, he got detailed information about the beast, especially its opinion of himself. Some beasts gave in directly, after being beaten by him, while some were stubborn, and restrained their ferocity, when they were beaten to serious injuries. After Xuan left, they bared their teeth and claws again, bluffing. Fortunately, Xuan saw through their true colors, so he did not pursue them too much. He secretly marked them, and let them recall the fear of being dominated by him, when he came back to raise them, until they remembered it firmly in their hearts. Because of the huge difference in strength, he did not encounter anything in the process of taming each beast, and he solved it easily. The rock beast is a 4th grade demon beast. Its body is made of strange stones. Its flesh feels almost no pain. It has a strong recovery ability, a fierce temperament, and a strong revenge. This beast is quite interesting. Xuan looked at a strange beast that was bleeding dark yellow blood, and secretly sighed. After raising the beast, it became very ferocious, and attacked him directly. The countless stones underground were the best gift to it. No matter how much stone meat falls, it is useless. It can't cause much damage to it. It doesn't learn its lesson. It will still attack it next time it meets it. Xuan fell into deep thought. Your body doesn't feel pain, right? You have a strong ability to recover, right? I wonder if your soul is the same? He scanned the surroundings with his spiritual sense, and seeing that he didn't find anything abnormal, he thought, and a silver white cone with countless dense patterns appeared and pierced directly through the head of the rock beast. It was the thorn god cone that he had obtained a long time ago. It can cause extremely strong damage to the soul of a cultivator or a monster. In severe cases, the soul may be scattered and die on the spot. As soon as the thorn god cone appeared, the rock beast felt that its head was directly pierced, and its soul was forcibly split into two, as if it was about to be torn apart. In the severe pain, it let out a shrill howl. Do you accept it? Xuan retracted the thorn god cone and sent a thought to the rock beast. I accept it. I accept it. The rock beast looked at the silver white cone flying around Xuan's palm, and a strong fear flashed in its eyes. It bowed its head to Xuan and surrendered. I will find a way to deal with you. Seeing that he had tamed another beast, Xuan was proud. As usual, he focused his mind on the rock beast whose body was constantly condensing rocks. Kill him. Kill him. A huge hatred came from the rock beast. Huh. So treacherous? And you can pretend? If I couldn't sense your true thoughts, you would have fooled me. Xuan was surprised, but his expression did not change. He once again confirmed the endless anger of the beast in front of him. This beast cannot stay for long, he thought, and in the eyes of the rock beast begging for mercy, the piercing cone went in and out, smashing its soul into pieces. Chapter 699. You know nothing about ferocious beasts. Very good, we got rid of a scourge that has no room for reprimand, and we can also get a lot of bones by the way. Xuan carried the corpse of the rock beast and rushed to the Chamber of Commerce camp at a high speed. On the way, in order not to waste the essence and blood of the beast, he also deliberately wrapped the injured part of the rock beast's head with spiritual power. When reprimanding the beast, he keenly realized that the beast was stubborn and would only hold more and more grudges in his heart, no matter how hard he beat it. Once he had the chance, he would want to kill him. After knowing this, Xuan decisively killed the beast. Anyway, the beasts in the secret realm have a certain death quota, so there is no need to worry about the Chamber of Commerce blaming him afterwards. He learned in the past 2 days that the beasts that were dealt with by the monks in the secret realm, because of the large amount of evil spirits in their bodies, except for a few parts of the flesh and blood, most of the other flesh and blood were dealt with by the monks of the Chamber of Commerce. Xuan returned to the camp and told Pan Hong and the 2 giant monks, and took out the edible flesh and blood of the rock beast, and put the remaining flesh and blood, bones, etc. into his pocket. As for the spirits of the beasts, Xuan couldn't bear to see them wandering in the wilderness, so he had already put them into the soul guiding lamp. On the 3rd day, Xuan spared no effort and smashed the head of a beast in front of him with one punch, and the red and white brains flowed all over the ground. It's hopeless. It has become a disaster. Leaving it in the secret realm will only hurt the monks of the Chamber of Commerce. The sooner it dies, the sooner it will be reborn. Xuan sighed in a low voice. This was the 3rd beast he had found that was so fierce that it wanted to harm him. After discovering their true thoughts, Xuan directly killed them and collected some fertilizer by the way. After raising many beasts, he slowly found that they could be summarized into 3 types. One is the least fierce, but it retains its ferocity. After a good beating, you can basically communicate with it in a simple way. The other is even more fierce. Even if you beat it repeatedly, it will still try to attack the next time you meet it, and keep beating it until it surrenders. The last type can be called vindictive. It surrenders on the surface, but actually has a strong desire to kill you in its heart. It is estimated that this is also an important reason why monks in the secret realm are seriously injured or even killed. After returning to the camp, Xuan followed the camp rules and found Pan Hong and the others. Lu, you killed another beast. You're a bit fast. Pan Hong looked at Xuan with a surprised look on his face. Xuan had just arrived in the secret realm for 3 days, and he had killed 3 beasts. This speed of killing was not like a newcomer at all, but rather like a ruthless butcher who had been in the secret realm for many years, and had also been tainted with a hint of ferocity. During the breeding process, I found that this beast had no room for saving, so I killed it directly, to prevent it from harming the monks of the Chamber of Commerce in the secret realm in the future. Xuan put a large bag of beast flesh and blood on the table, and a stream of clear water flowed from the palm of his hand, washing away the bloody smell on his body. Lu, it's okay to kill beasts, but you have to be restrained. Pan Hong said tactfully. Thank you for your reminder, Pan, I know what to do. Xuan said with a smile. Lu, Please forgive my rudeness. How did you determine that the beasts you killed had no chance of recovery? No matter how ferocious and violent they are, they can be tamed if the method is appropriate. Ding Yu, who was standing by, could not help but ask, with a bit of doubt in his tone. The specific methods involve some of my secrets, so I cannot tell you in detail. However, I can guarantee that the beasts I killed were all sentenced to death, and I will not kill them by mistake. Lu Xuan said in a deep voice. How can I guarantee this? Dao Iao is not a worm in the heart of the beasts, and knows their true thoughts. Dao Iao came here for 3 days, and killed 3 4th grade beasts. If you stay here for a few years, won't all the beasts in the secret realm be cleared by you? If the loss rate exceeds the Chamber of Commerce, can you take the blame? Dao Iao Ding Yu thought that the Chamber of Commerce might blame him, and he couldn't help but get impatient, and his tone became aggressive. Don't worry, fellow Daoist Ding, we won't exceed the 10% death quota. If we accidentally exceed it, I will give an explanation to the Chamber of Commerce. Lu Xuan said solemnly. The 3 beasts he killed should be killed. If they were kept, they would harm the other cultivators in the secret realm. However, it was difficult to show that he really understood the specific thoughts of the beasts, so he had to make a promise to Ding Yu. According to his speculation, killing one less beast like this would be easier to find in the early stage, but slowly, it would become more and more difficult to detect, so it seemed that he had a bit of a temperament of killing beasts at the beginning. Okay, then I hope fellow Daoist Lu can do what he said. Hearing what Lu Xuan said, Ding Yu nodded continuously and walked away. Fellow Daoist Lu, please don't take fellow Daoist Ding's words to heart. He is also worried that killing too many beasts will arouse doubts from the top leaders of the Chamber of Commerce. Pan Hong stood up and said to Lu Xuan. In addition, fellow Daoist Ding's attitude towards ferocious beasts is somewhat different from mine. I prefer to let them go, and I'm relatively lax with ferocious beasts. I will fight them if they don't obey me. Fellow Daoist Ding prefers to tame them. He has rich experience in raising monster beasts, and he believes that ferocious beasts have spirits, so he will try every means to tame them to a certain stage. Both methods have advantages and disadvantages. His method will take more energy and thoughts, while my method is relatively simple and rough, but the death rate of ferocious beasts will be a little higher. However, compared with fellow Daoist Lu's speed of killing ferocious beasts, it is still slightly inferior. Pan Han showed an embarrassed but polite smile. Fellow Daoist Pan, don't worry, I will control them. It's just that I did find those ferocious beasts that were too murderous, so I took action to deal with them. However, I have a question. Lu Xuan said to Pan Han. I wonder if you two Daoists have recorded it. If I'm not mistaken, the beasts managed by Daoist fellow Ding may attack the monks more frequently. He knew all the beasts in the secret realm. They were all very ferocious and difficult to tame. Treating them with the attitude of ordinary monsters would increase the difficulty by an unknown amount. There is no record to compare this, but Daoist fellow Lu mentioned it, and it seems that there is a similar situation. Pan Hong thought thoughtfully. Whether it is right or wrong, you just need to investigate the casualties of the monks in the secret realm over the years. Lu Xuan said expressionlessly. It is hard to say which of the two ways of treating beasts is right or wrong. One beast has a higher mortality rate, and the other cultivator faces greater danger. Maybe there are few deaths, but injuries are relatively more frequent. Perhaps for the Chamber of Commerce, the value of a dead beast is much higher than that of an injured foundation building monk. In the final analysis, you still know nothing about beasts, he said secretly in his heart. At the same time, he was extremely lucky that he had that special talent in spiritual plants and beasts. It has helped me countless times when I faced many problems with spiritual plants and monsters. Chapter 700 Damn Beast. After this minor incident, Lu Xuan deliberately controlled the speed of hunting the helpless beasts. On average, it took several days to kill a beast. While helping the secret realm to clean up the scourge, he also took a lot of blood, flesh, bones, etc. of the beasts. One day, when he was resting in the camp, he suddenly heard a movement outside. Look, Uncle Ding brought the cloud-splitting eagle to the camp. Someone exclaimed. I didn't expect that Uncle Ding really tamed the cloud-splitting eagle completely. I admire you. Someone's tone was full of admiration. The cloud-splitting eagle has been in the secret realm for many years. It often attacks the monks who raise it. It is extremely fierce. Unfortunately, no one has been able to tame it completely. I didn't expect Uncle Ding to accomplish this feat. Amid the exclamations, monks kept hearing the news and went out to see the excitement. Lu Xuan's mouth curled up, listening to the commotion outside. He got up, opened the door, and entered the crowd. Ding Yu was standing in the middle of the crowd like a moon surrounded by stars, with a grey-white giant eagle beast on his shoulder. The giant eagle had sparse hair all over its body and sharp and fierce eyes. When ordinary foundation building cultivators looked at it, they felt like they were on edge and could feel a sharpness. The beast had a pair of claws, one of which was retracted, and the other stepped on Ding Yu's shoulder. The claws were large and sharp, as if they could easily tear the cultivator's body apart. This split cloud eagle has been completely tamed by me. Now it is obedient in front of me and dares not act rashly. If anyone here is interested, you can touch it after feeding it some monster meat. Ding Yu said with a smile. Seeing that everyone was attracted by the extremely honest split cloud eagle beast, his smile became even wider, and there was a bit of satisfaction in his words. The example of taming the cloud-splitting eagle fully demonstrates that as long as there is enough patience and clear rewards and punishments for fierce beasts, no matter how fierce and violent they are, they can be tamed successfully. This seems to have a hidden meaning. Lu Xuan came to Ding Yu while complaining in his heart. Congratulations to Daoist Ding for successfully taming such a violent and fierce beast. Daoist's attainments in taming beasts really make me admire you. He congratulated Ding Yu in a calm tone. Thank you Daoist Lu. Daoist Lu, you are too polite. Ding Yu smiled back. Although the two had differences in their attitudes towards fierce beasts, they still maintained superficial respect. Especially Lu Xuan's status as a guest of the Chamber of Commerce allowed Ding Yu to maintain a friendly attitude. Lu Xuan smiled and casually threw a piece of monster meat into the mouth of the cloud-splitting eagle. The cloud-splitting eagle swallowed it in one gulp, with a fierce look in his eyes. He subconsciously focused his mind on the fierce beast in front of him. A thought emerged in his mind, with detailed information about the cloud-splitting eagle. In addition, he could sense the resentment from the cloud-splitting eagle that was as strong as substance. Is this cloud-splitting eagle just pretending to be tamed? Lu Xuan couldn't help but show a trace of surprise. When Ding Yu saw it, he thought he was shocked by his superb beast taming skills, and his smile became even bigger. Lu Xuan withdrew from the crowd. Although he discovered the true appearance of the cloud-splitting eagle, he couldn't point it out directly. After all, Ding Yu was in a moment of complacency, and he had no evidence. If he reminded him now, it would be tantamount to damaging his face in his eyes. People can't teach people, but things can teach people once. When they suffer a great loss from this cloud-splitting eagle, Ding Yu will be impressed and remember it in his heart. After all, he is a giant and Zenran. He will have no problem dealing with a 4th grade beast, even if it is a sudden attack. Lu Xuan thought to himself, and his steps, that were originally intended to go back to the house, slowed down again, and decided to see the real excitement. Come, I'll control the actions of this cloud-splitting eagle for you to see. Let me show you what it means to truly control a fierce beast. Ding Yu laughed and, encouraged by everyone, let out a sharp whistle. The moment the cloud-splitting eagle heard the whistle, its body was like a flash of lightning, piercing through the clouds and hitting the rocks. Swift and agile, it circled around the residence for a few weeks, and after a few breaths, it quickly flew towards Ding Yu again. While chatting and laughing with the monks around him, Ding Yu stretched out his arm, waiting for the cloud-splitting eagle to land on his shoulder as usual. His attitude was extremely casual, allowing the cloud-splitting eagle, which had been waiting for a long time, to seize this fleeting opportunity. With a sharp whistle, the speed increased several times again, and its jagged claws slashed at Ding Yu's body fiercely. Evil beast. Ding Yu's spiritual awareness was extremely sharp, and he instantly noticed the abnormal behavior of the cloud-splitting eagle. An aura shield immediately appeared in front of him, and a fiery red flying sword shot out, and in a single encounter, the cloud-splitting eagle beast that flew in front of him was chopped into countless pieces. All this happened too quickly. Before many foundation building cultivators could react, the beast that attacked Ding Yu had been cut into pieces. looking at the corpse of the cloud-splitting eagle that had just been obediently on Dingyu's shoulder. Everyone fell into silence. What a deafening silence. Lu Xuan laughed in his heart, and in a flash, he came to Dingyu and greeted him with concern. Fellow Daoist Ding, are you okay? It's okay. After all, this beast is only a 4th grade beast. It's easy to deal with it. It's just that fellow Daoist Lu, you are making a fool of yourself. His face turned red and white. He wanted to bring this cloud-splitting eagle beast that he had tamed with great difficulty to Lu Xuan, to show off his ability to control it and prove that everything Lu Xuan had done before was wrong. But he didn't expect that the beast would turn hostile on the spot and attack him directly. Even though he was determined in the Jiandan realm, he couldn't help but feel ashamed. Fellow Daoist Lu is right. Those damn beasts shouldn't have a fluke mentality. Just kill them directly. He took a breath, and a trace of determination flashed in his eyes. The concept of beast control that has been upheld for a long time has shown signs of collapse today. It is great that fellow Daoist Ding has this idea, but we must also adapt to local conditions and be flexible. Whether it is an ordinary monster, a kind-hearted spirit beast, or a fierce beast in a secret realm, the situation of each monster is different, and the measures that need to be taken are also very different. What we beast tamers can do is to learn and observe more, and try to understand the specific situation of each monster as much as possible. Seeing Dingyu like this, Lu Xuan was afraid that he would go from one extreme to another, so he gently reminded him. As for how to understand the specific situation of the monster, it has little to do with him. It is already quite good to be able to figure out some of it. If you want to know it as well as he knows it, it is absolutely impossible. Thank you, fellow Daoist Lu. Fellow Daoist Lu has made me understand what real beast control is today. I was arrogant before. I thought I was proficient in beast control, but I didn't expect that I actually knew nothing. Dingyu heard the advice and reminder in Lu Xuan's words, and a trace of gratitude appeared on his face. He bowed and saluted. Let's make progress together, Lu Xuan said with a smile. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.